The following is a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. The world's best are putting on a show at the Super Rapid Blitz Poland in Warsaw. A pair of Americans are in pole position, picking up 2 more wins to claim co-first. But don't count out defending champ Vladimir Fedoseev, who was right on their heels in clear third. 3 rounds of rapid remain. Day 3 of Can't Miss Chess. Coming up next.
Welcome back, chess fans, to Day 3 and the final day of Rapid here at the 2026 Super Rapid and Blitz held in beautiful Warsaw, Poland. The players have been regaling us with their beautiful moves all throughout the first couple of days, but today it's all about who's going to be able to finish best and take the lead going into the Blitz portion. Let's go to the studio and start Day 3 action with Yasser, Maurice, and Naz.
Well, it's the incredible city of Warsaw, Poland, famous for its monuments and statues and battles long past, but is the current battle with the top players in the world battling on the chessboard, vying for the prize of the very first stop on the Grand Chess Tour of 2026. Hello, everyone. I'm Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, and I'm in studio here in St. Louis. And we had an incredible day 2, which resulted in one American player atop the leaderboard where he normally stands, another surprising the world, and the chaser from last year right behind them. And yesterday, we had a fist bump. Well, let's start the action right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show. I'm your host, Nazi Paikidze, and I'm here with the one and only Yasser Seirawan.
Nazi, pleasure as always to be with you and Maurice in studio calling the action. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show. Boy, day 2 was absolutely wonderful. A smashing game that went on between world champion Gukesh and his challenger Sindarov. Ended in a victory for the champion, and he celebrated only as he can. Nasi, do the honors. Tell us our standings after 6 great games.
Yes, sir. Let's have a look. We have a tie for first. It's 2 Americans, Wesley and Hans Niemann, on the top with 9 points. But only point behind is last year's winner, Vladimir Fedoseev.
Very, very impressive by our leaders. Tell us about the format for the Super Rapid and Blitz.
The 10-player round-robin event. In Rapid, time control is 25 minutes with 10-second increment. Scoring system, they get 2 points for a win and 1 for a draw. Starting tomorrow, we'll have 5+2, very fun format for Blitz, and scoring system will be regular, just 1 point for a win.
Speaking of our schedule, tell us about it.
Today is the last day of Rapid, only 3 more games to go. Starting tomorrow, we'll see Blitz 9 rounds per day. And at the end, if we don't have a sole winner, we'll see playoffs.
Wonderful. Maurice, tell us more about our 3 leaders. I think of them as 3 leaders, even though we only have 2 co-leaders.
It's a good way to think about it because they're really neck and neck jockeying for position, especially with so many points up for grabs. Today, it's 6 points. Right. So anything could happen with that kind of numbers. And the players we're talking about, well, of course, you got to look at the number 1 big dog, somebody who has won the tour before, and that is Grandmaster Wesley So. He started off the first day extremely hot, winning 2 in a row before losing to his countryman Fabiano Caruana in round 3, but then he shrugged that off and showed his resilience and won 2 in rounds 4 and 5, and then made a quick draw in round 6 to consolidate his position, now standing tied for first. And who's tied with him? Well, if I said an American player, you might think it's Fabi, but no can do. It's actually Hans Niemann on only his second stop with the Grand Chess Tour, we remember him playing in the Sinkfield Cup. Well, those memories he'll put behind him as he is showing that he is definitely somebody who belongs here. He hasn't lost a single game. The only player in the competition who hasn't lost a single game so far. You see his line score with a draw, a win, 2 draws, and then winning out his last 2 games. So he is definitely looking to make the chess speak for itself. And someone that they're looking right over their shoulder at is last year's winner, Vladimir Fedoseev. He lapped the field last year. It was over before even the very end. But this time he lost the very first round, bounced back with 2 wins, and then after 2 draws, had a miracle escape in round 6 against Vachier-Lagrave. But there he stands, just a point behind the leaders, and he's going to show his stuff there in Warsaw. And speaking of Warsaw, let's jump right now to that great city with our great colleagues, Cristian Chirila and Anastasiya Karlovich.
Thanks, Maurice, and what an absolutely stacked podium you highlighted there. Welcome back, Chance Fast, to day 3 here in Warsaw, Poland, the final day of Rapid Chess. Anastasiya, you were in the playing hall yesterday when that big moment happened between the challenger for the World Championship crown and the world champion.
Exactly, Cristian. I was so lucky to be there at the venue and watch the game live while the whole chess world, of course, kept an eye on what was happening there. And, you know, after winning the game, Gukesh got really emotional after this tense battle, and all of us could follow this moment. So Javokhir is resigning, and at this moment, Gukesh made this fist pump.
He was coming off a loss.
Exactly. And I think he got emotional. He explained during the interview that he made it for himself at the heat of the moment. And we don't see it so often from the world champion. Usually he keeps calm, and we don't see those emotions in the chess world so often. So we cherish these moments, and you can imagine that Instagram, Facebook, Twitter were showing all these videos back and forth, and it was, of course, the talk of the town yesterday. We could understand the tension was really high, and of course everyone is hoping that the World Championship match will have similar emotions and similar tension.
It for sure will have, especially after seeing what happened yesterday. And Gukesh, before the event, said that he's probably not going to be thinking too much about this rivalry brewing up, but you could see it in the heat of the battle that it meant a lot for him. And Sindarov, on the other side of the coin, well, unfortunately, he started off great this tournament in day 1. No losses, and let's take a look at the line score, because you will see something absolutely incredible in day 2. Take a look at that. 3 losses in a row. This man hasn't lost a game of chess in a long time. I think in classical chess it's been something along the lines of 50 to 60 games, but right now he lost 3 rapid games in a row. Definitely today he will be having revenge on his mind. But the road ahead is not easy. Let's take a look at the road ahead for day 3 of Rapids for Javokhir Sindarov. Take a look at that. In round 7, a player that's on the podium right now, that's Vladimir Fedoseev, who won against Wojciech yesterday in the final round. Round 8 against Fabiano Caruana, following closely behind as well. And round 9 against a player that has been struggling a little bit in this event, and that is Alireza Firouzja. Going into this one, Alireza was viewed as one of the favorites, but unfortunately for him, he hasn't played his best brand of chess. And take a look at that big clash right now. Javokhir Sindarov against Vladimir Fedoseev.
Yes, and actually I must admit that this tournament, it's a great opportunity for the young player also to check his abilities, and nobody will let you settle. Nobody will give you a chance to refresh and recharge your batteries. You have to fight in each round. So I would say that this is like a pool full of sharks.
Absolutely, a pool full of sharks, and we're about to see a lot of very exciting games. Guys, back to you in St. Louis.
Thank you, Anastasiya, and thank you, Cristian, for the view from Poland. But tell our viewers about today's pairings, round 7.
Yes, this morning we start right away with a big clash of 2 co-leaders, Hans Niemann facing Wesley. So
that is a marquee matchup.
Absolutely. Then we have Gukesh against MVL, Duda against Firouzja. Another big matchup is between Sindarov and Fedoseev, and Wojciech against Fabiano Caruana.
Remind us again, brilliant prize fund.
Yes, absolutely. $200,000 prize fund for this event. First place winner takes home $50,000. Second place, 40. Just big prizes for everybody. Thank you so much to all the sponsors.
Absolutely. So players get settled for round 7 and the start. And our key matchup, my goodness, Hans Niemann and Wesley. So curious about their head-to-head as we'll figure that one out. Play underway.
Are we
E4,
expecting
E5.
Jacopiano?
Yes.
Yes.
And they do have some familiarity with each other, as we know they play in the U.S. Championship.
Yes.
So that is not going to come as some shock, surprise. But here with a bishop to e7. And
Jacopiano with bishop e7. Not the standard bishop c5, but Wesley using the Hungarian open defense.
Hans looked
to
a
the
bit
Joko.
surprised, was not expecting this change up with bishop e7.
And quickly
Knight
plays knight c3.
c3.
You don't want to show too much that you were stunned by a move,
Right.
but you also want to make sure you play maybe the most principled way. I feel like knight c3 lets Wesley off the hook a little bit,
Think so.
but he must have wanted to avoid preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's quickly whipping out moves.
With the move pawn d6, they're just taking that move back. Now that the e5 pawn is defended, there is this tricky idea of knight a5 hunting the light squared bishop. And the move a2, a4, not just gaining a little space on the queen side, but also giving the bishop a retreat. Square.
And
A7,
Yasser, how is
A5.
black supposed to develop here? Oh, I see a5 was already played. Is he going to play bishop e6 next?
Possibly, but also I like the maneuver of Levon Aronian. King h8, you move the knight from f6, you play for f5.
f5, yes.
Normally, white has to play for d4 as black is playing for f5, and you get counterplay against the e-pawn when that happens. But okay, a7, a5, h2, h2. This was the big question, is what is white going to do with his bishop? And the problem with the immediate bishop e3 is it provokes knight g4, which is maybe
Not anymore.
not anymore. So h2, h3, and like you say, either we play for bishop e6, or we do the king h8 and we play for f5. I think this is all standard stuff.
Well,
We'll
they've
keep our-
definitely veered away from the most standard. Again, that knight on c3 is
Yes,
it's
agreed.
been played often enough, but it's by far outstripped by main lines where the knight ends up on d2. That
And the
knight,
pawn goes to c3.
the pawn goes to c3. Knight ends up on f1, a la standard Ruy Lopez and Italian game positions. So that knight on c3, you start to wonder, how does white really push for an initiative? Where's the pawn break?
Right.
That's a real critical question here. Yes, your pieces are going to be developed, but now you've got to open up some lines for them, and it's not self-evident how you maneuver from this position. And so as far as Wesley is concerned, the opening has, generally speaking, been more or less a success.
Absolutely. And again, for those of you joining us late, why is this game so important? Well, it features our two co-leaders.
Two co-leaders, they have 9 points leading this whole field. This game, if it's decisive, could decide the tournament winner.
Well, we know that the winner of the Rapid is often the overall winner of the tournament because
Exactly.
we've got these two stages, Rapids and Blitz stages. But for Wesley, big game. with
Absolutely,
black.
and on the other hand, if this game ends in a draw and Fedoseev wins, he'll be joining the leaders, and then it'll be a 3-way tie.
And yeah, come the Blitz, that's 18 points.
What
in the
happens
Blitz.
if we move on to the Blitz section without a clear leader? Then who wins?
Certainly not the commentator. Maurice, jump in.
Well, they are proceeding apace as a knight is landed
Whoa,
on d5
whoa,
and a
whoa.
capture of a pawn.
Is this a pawn sacrifice? Knight b4. How are we?
Oh, look at that, immediately d4.
And then we play e4.
I guess knight d2 does keep the pawn in that position. As
Okay, rook e.
You're really, look at Yasser. All he smells
Hunting
is
the
a pawn.
pawn.
that potentially.
Look, it's not going anywhere.
Hey, well, he could drop the bishop back and play for c4, though that will have some.
I could also play
I mean,
c3
she
and
probably c3 immediately,
force
by the
you.
way, and push you
Yeah.
to go for this position. And then knight takes e4 would have to be calculated. Looks correct. And
Okay.
no pawn for you, Yasser.
I was hoping. I was hoping.
By the way, we should take a look at another position as this one proceeds. Well, a little bit of pace, but take a look at the one with Sindarov.
If you don't mind,
Yes.
what one other moment? If I take the pawn on d4, queen takes, I got knight c2. Ha! And if knight takes, I've got knight takes d5.
He found a way to win the pawn.
f5. Well, thank you. He's
Bishop g5. I do have a lot of pressure here and
Yeah,
compensation.
just like a pawn you may not
Rook
appreciate
e1.
yeah.
after Bishop G5.
I've much tastier pawns in my life. I'll confess.
That one leaves some indigestion.
Sorry, Maurice, you were
But
about
no,
to
we got to
share.
jump to the other game.
Which
the other
is?
game between Sindarov and Fedoseev, because this one is on fire, and it looks as though
this is
Fedoseev.
the Joko piano.
Yes,
for
that
you
Bishop
to see.
G5 is somewhat poorly timed, it turns out. Bishop G5 right here, right now, allows this idea of H6 bishop back, and then G5, and bishop to G3. And this position, it turns out, I mean, these are the wild Joko pianos that these guys play literally all the time, and you got to know all the nuances. Apparently the best for black here was the move A5 to shut down any kind of expansion on that side.
You mean instead of a6 or after playing a6, spend another tempo playing a5?
No, this is the position. Do I have to? This is the position we have in the game.
He played
So the
knight
pawn's on
h5.
a6. So he played knight h5 instead. So instead of playing that, to play the move a5.
In this,
In this
after
exact
playing
position.
G5 and then playing,
Yes, yes.
wow,
To
to force or coax B5.
b5 and then bring the knight over to the other side. And this knight, of course, is headed to g6. And black just has standard great play with white not having much on that side. But these are the sharp positions you can play. He instead played knight h5, though. We go back to the game. And this is not bad for black either. White should take advantage of the moment to play a5 himself. And there's some tactics afoot here, I got to say, because right now, Sindarov can play a5, bishop to a7, and knight takes on e5, which is a normal tactic we see, like a beginner's tactic, but not these players at this level. The knight's hanging, so takes on g3, bishop takes f7 with check, king f8, and now knight g6 only move. And if you take the bishop, we're going down this long line, and after this capture, the engine's giving triple zeros to this position. Sure, that's obvious. I'm saying that in jest. Of course, this is a wild position that could certainly take place. And I think Sindarov is, look at his eyes. He looks like a hawk right now, trained on this central position, because knight takes e5. We can jump back to the live position. Knight takes e5 does look like a move to play.
With the inclusion of a5 first, though.
Yes, and we don't have, I'm looking at the live board. I see a5 on the screen there. We don't have it. That was your board.
That was
A5.
my analysis board, sorry.
So a5 has not yet been played, but a5 suggested you could do without it, get that space
So,
with a5,
once
and
again-
just take right away.
So once again, the tactics are that we want to take on e5, attack the knight. Now, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5 is just bad, just flat out bad for black, pardon me. So you have to take on g3. This isn't, no choices here,
No choice,
Nancy.
but it's also scary. You're giving up f7 with a check.
That's right. And you're giving up, so white is giving up two minor pieces
But taking a lot of pawns.
rook and two pawns.
By the way, king f7 is not obligatory. That's also something to note. King g7,
Not taking the bishop?
not taking the bishop, is possible because, after all, the rook on h1 is also hanging.
So we
That's
take
very
the
interesting.
knight, and the difference might be queen f6 here.
I think we should still take the rook on h8 instead of the knight.
On
Is that
g3?
the line? Because then there's some queen h5 ideas I have.
Whoa. Okay, just a
Let's
second.
get back to the king g7
So,
position.
not king takes f7, king g7, and then, sorry,
Yeah, Maurice, can we take on h8 here?
we take on h1, I presume?
No.
Ooh.
After queen h5, there's just nothing. You just take queen h8, actually. And there's nothing.
I mean,
Just have one check.
It's just a single check.
This is a crazy line. That king g7 move.
Oh, he's taking the e5 pawn. Look at that. His hand is hovering over that pawn. But he's hesitating.
Explosive moment right now. We get back to the live position.
This is it.
And he definitely wants to capture on e5. Anything else, actually, and he's going to be worse.
Right. If I play something knight d2.
I mean, it's very early to say this,
Knight
but
takes
could he
g7.
lose 4 games in a row?
Oh, talk about
no, that would no.
talk about
Okay.
mistreating the youngster as he shows up on the tour, and he's not sure at all. You see him there; he's uncertain. That's the second time it looks like he's reached to play knight takes e5, and he's trying now. A normally confident Javokhir, you know how he is. He just plays the move,
Right.
But he's lost some confidence. Losing 3 games in a row can do that to you, and he has captured on e5, and he's decided, let's go. We're going down the line right now. Bishop takes f7 with check.
And I'm just waiting for, we've got the analysis board on the right side, the live screen, the live position on the left side.
And
We're
there
waiting,
they go. Knight g6 check played.
waiting for the players to catch up.
Fedoseev's thinking here. He realized he can't take the bishop or leave it alive and go king
King
g7.
g7.
King g7 is actually the best move.
No kidding.
Don't take the bishop. King g7 is best, according to the engine. And that's not obvious. None of us here would say, oh yeah, sure, of course you play king g7. But that tempo of knight takes h8 is compelling enough to restrict.
There's
options.
rook h7.
Oh, the rook is not trapped.
I thought it was trapped too.
Same.
Rook h7, and suddenly my pieces are entangled.
And white's going to lose one of those minor pieces. And
Oh,
what do we
that's a
have? What's
shock.
the material imbalance after
Well,
that?
right now I'm a piece down, right? Or no, I'm about.
White is up,
Oh,
up 2 pawns at the
up
moment.
2 pawns at the moment.
About to lose a piece, though.
The problem
Okay.
is that move queen f6, because queen h5,
Or queen f3 here for white. Black just goes queen f6, probably.
yes.
Oh, he didn't play it. He took on f7, which is...
That's a break for Sindarov, a big sigh of
Yeah.
relief for him, because now he can take and play the position,
That we expected.
and he'll have a rook and 2 pawns for the 2 minor pieces with an exposed black king.
Oh, he didn't capture on h8.
I believe he
did.
capture. No, he
No,
And
he
then
did
Fedoseev
not.
played king g7.
He did play king g7.
No. Here in this position, he played king g7.
He captured on h8. When you say he didn't capture on h8, the queen didn't capture on h8.
That's your analysis, Yasser.
Right.
The queen did not capture on h8. The king moved to g7 instead,
That's what I thought.
which is a very fascinating subtlety. He's saying that
After we take the knight,
after you take the knight, which he'll
we have to play queen
100%
f6.
do, that he's not needing to misplace his queen, so to speak. The knight is trapped after all. But queen f6
Threatens f2.
is possible, but then queen f3.
And then I win a third pawn.
h6 pawn is hanging, right?
Exactly.
Well, he actually can wait one more tempo.
He can develop the bishop or something?
Okay,
Yeah, develop the bishop and take with the rook.
so we do have king g7 on the board. He's taken the knight. Now it's up to Vladimir to decide whether to play queen f6.
Or bishop e6.
And he's
The
queen
knight
f6 is his choice.
is not going anywhere.
But on the other hand, Maurice, after queen f3, am I a favorite to win this pawn?
No, he trades queens and plays bishop d7.
Gotcha.
And the knight is going to be captured by the rook.
What about knight f7, though?
So
Okay, then I'll play bishop e6.
okay, but then I'll play d4.
Yeah, we have more moves coming. Or maybe...
We do have queen f3 on the board, so I'll go back. And this is our live position as well as our analysis position. And what we've been debating here on panel is this idea that black is going to capture the knight, but he's going to leave the h6 pawn. White already has 2 pawns and a rook for 2 minor pieces, but 3
That would
pawns
be a
and
lot.
a rook for 2 minor pieces is, materially speaking, too much. And we have been looking at queen takes f3 takes, not playing king takes, but trying to use the rook on a8.
It turns out this move, bishop e6, is inferior to bishop d7, and this is a literally shocking situation. And let's see if he plays it, because bishop d7, knight f7 is supposed to be the best line. Just take the knight,
Take the pawn.
allow the pawn to drop. That's pawn number
3. King g7.
And I will tell you, as not only as a study composer, but as someone who loves to do retrograde analysis puzzles, it is rare that you see White's pawn structure, because how did this pawn structure even occur?
Right.
And it only can occur if a pawn from g2 took on f3 and a pawn on h2 took on g3. So otherwise it would not. So this is a bizarre position. You rarely see such an pawn chain as this. But it turns out that the position, did he play bishop d7?
No,
No, he
he
played
still
knight
possible.
e5. No, he played knight e5.
He played knight e5 instead. But this is such an unusual position. The players will, having not seen types of positions like this on a regular, can easily make errors, and that knight e5 is one of them, allowing king to e2, and
Which defends both pawns.
which defends both pawns. We make this point. Positions you've never seen before, some unusual type positions, are the positions that are full of potential mistakes for players. After knight d2, d4 is threatened. There's an f4 thing that could come at the right moment, but more d4 as a problem, or even the knight going up to c4. White's pawn chain looks like
Lovely.
looks gorgeous, like a mountain range.
Right. By the way, if we get into a position with the knight being captured, let's just play bishop to d7. If we get into a position like this, I'm just going to put some moves on the board for a moment, not playing for d4 quite yet. That bishop on b6,
It's out of play.
for a long, long time, like how does it ever get back into play? You put your knight on g6, and we'll just put this. I mean, it's like you're just kind of.
Also, yes, I like your d4, but f4 is also a very good option, and opening up g-file for my a-rook after knight d2. By the way, Fedoseev played bishop e6 instead of bishop d7.
Okay, but the
And
problem I saw
Sindarov
with
quickly responded with knight d2.
the problem I saw with bishop e6 is you're really encouraging
Yes,
f4 and
that's
f5
what
now.
stood out to me, yes.
Knight d2,
And now probably we'll see rook h8 and then
Right.
f4.
and now there's a real problem. White's pawns are making a big statement, like your minor pieces aren't working, but this is terrible.
And again,
yeah.
I'd like to make this point, just this quick point, is that this pawn formation is so unusual, but these double pawns are great. These are double pawns we like. There's one in the back ready to replace anything that happens. This is just fantastic. Lines will open up. But before we get any further, let's jump to Warsaw with our colleague, Cristian Chirila.
Well, I just want to build up on your point, Maurice, and not gloss over this very, very crucial moment where he played king takes f7, obviously the most obvious move in the position, but the better move. And why was that the better move? King to g7 in this position. It's because this one more or less forces White to take with the f-pawn, which completely destroys the whole pawn structure. Not only that, you have the double pawns on the g-file facing my own g-pawn on g5, so there's not going to be any majority on that side. But also, very importantly, your rook on h1 is locked for the moment. Sure, you're probably going to activate it later on via the f-file, but it's not going to have the same impact. If you take with the g-pawn, and this is what you guys spotted, there's another square, rook to h7, and now, with the pawn on f2, rook to f1, defending the bishop on f7 is no longer possible. But this is not easy to understand from afar, because White still has one way to defend that bishop on f7 with the move queen to f3. And after g4, queen to f4, now this very crucial move, knight to e5. Maybe bishop d7 also works, but the very natural move that you see in the position, queen to d7, for example, to attack this bishop on f7 and force matters, well, unfortunately, false. after knight to f8, a crucial move in this position, a very beautiful geometrical motif. In this one, of course, if you take on f8, bishop to e6 is going to happen, and that's going to lose for black because the queen is going to be lost. So this one, I mean, such an entanglement in this position, and right now the players, well, they blitzed out in this endgame, and I have to say, it just looks easier to play for white. You have the pawn majority. Right now, the pawn majority is actually mobile, so I can push my pawns forward and make it more difficult for your pieces to find good squares. So I really love the way Javokhir Sindarov is playing this one, creates the complications, doesn't shy away, even after 3 losses, from going into this complicated position. And right now, we have a mess, but a mess that favors white. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Cristian. That knight that's a great move. Sorry,
it was a great move. And again, what's so fascinating about this particular pawn structure, this is something, again, we don't see every day, every week, every month. I don't know when you see this kind of pawn structure.
8 pawns.
And just for this reason, understand that f4 would normally be a bad move if we take the f pawn that is now on f2 and put it over on h2, right?
Yeah.
That's a so-called purely healthy pawn structure. But no, because you're on f2, now bishop g4 check, which would be ideal, does nothing because, oh, we got the backup f pawn. A lot of players are afraid to have double pawns, not strong players, when they're so compact in the center and so fluid as well. And this structure, the change, makes such a difference to the aggression that white can display. Now, black is facing just a monster pawn chain and is definitely in trouble in this position.
Absolutely.
I agree, Maurice. And we do have a move. Fedoseev retreated his knight to f7. Now I have a question for you, Yasser. Would you take on g5 and put the other pawn on f4 if I take with the knight?
I would love to do that. The move that really has caught my eye, and it's been a twinkle for the longest time. I love pinning my opponent's
shutting down
pieces,
the bishop on b6.
and I love restricting my opponent's pieces.
He's played a5 first. Bishop is on a7. Why not kick the bishop all the way to the corner?
All right, and he's included a5. No,
I like
issues with
d4.
that.
We still keep the option to take on g5 whenever we'd like.
Precisely. Also, another move I'm attracted to is just I like the idea of this backup pawn, right? But I feel like that one I can keep in my pocket, whereas this move d4. I really like just to restrict this bishop. Maybe on a good day, I bring my king to d3 in case of a bishop g4 business.
Oh, yeah. And I'm guessing black has to hope for d5 and change up the pawn structure. So maybe black plays rook e8 here with the idea to play d5 and improve at least one of their bishops, like the white squared bishop.
Sure. Something, you mean something like this,
yes.
Yeah?
And I'm hoping you play e5 and I get some squares for my bishop.
It makes sense, makes sense. Even though, it's funny you should say, I'm hoping for e5. If I fall for it and I give you a good bishop, it's like you've got one good bishop.
Only one good piece.
Not 2 good bishops. Tell me how this bishop ever comes into play.
It's not. I've given up on that bishop.
Yeah, you're going to play bishop b8, bishop c7, bishop d8.
And then what?
Bishop e7, and then what? It's a very funny, and like you say, Maurice, 8 pawns on the board. You don't see that every day, and I think
not this structure.
Yeah.
Again, those puzzles, those retrograde analysis puzzles. You want to take a look. There's a famous book, The Chess Mysteries of Sherlock Holmes, by Raymond Smullyan, one of my favorite chess books ever, and it talks a lot about these kinds of situations where you say, "How did this position even happen? Right. How did you get your H pawn to become an F pawn?" In fact, it's the G pawn, and it's the G pawn that became the F pawn. Fascinating type of puzzles. So fascinating is this position that we have forgotten about everything else.
Our fight for first.
And our other games that are fantastic. I don't want to leave the drama of this one, but we've got to point out the fight for first, but also look at the position between Gukesh and Vachier-Lagrave. This position is super exciting. All the pieces on the board still except one pawn. We see imbalances. A bishop on h6? Do you normally see that for the bishop? Well, it's decided to go on a different diagonal, but usually it's sitting back on g7. And so seeing a move like that one is unusual. Again, the imbalanced structure. Note the bishop on h2 as well. That's just a spy down the long diagonal. I might call it a sniper. So this one is fascinating and rich as well. This shows the richness of chess. We could be doing 5 classical games and still not exhaust these possibilities. I also want to point out a great game between Duda and Firouzja. How do you like this structure? This one, what is up with black attacking with pawns on the king side this early, not castling, leaving the king in the middle of the board? And look at black's formation. White's pretty standard, but black's setup is quite unusual, extending pawns almost like a snake. I'm not even sure what to call it, the way it's going down the board. This pawn structure is so unusual, so much to calculate in this position. And finally, the game we have not looked at a bit more solid, thank goodness. This game between Fedoseev and Caruana, this one is very solid indeed, as white has some space, but black is very solid on the dark squares. So this Vachier-Lagrave game may be the most normal game for we commentators to look at, because everything is rich everywhere.
Thank you, Maurice. Let's take a look at pie charts, Yasser.
Yes, statistically, tell me who's going to win this tournament.
Who was a pre-tournament favorite, and then what happened after the first 2 days. Pre-favorite, Wesley So, and he's doing quite well.
He is indeed.
But however, look at that. In second place, it was Fedoseev, Firouzja, and MVL. We know Firouzja and MVL
are... the predictions at the start for the top 2 were
pretty accurate.
Spot on.
Yes.
Hans Niemann wasn't in there, and we're kind of seeing Hans creep up the board.
After day 1, it was Fedoseev and Wesley still on the top. Firouzja still maintained 3rd position. Fabi up there, and Hans increasing his chances.
I'm sure we're about to see Firouzja fade and Hans emerge.
It's Wesley all the way, 42.7% chances of him winning this whole event. Fedoseev in 2nd with 30%. And Hans Niemann in a clear 3rd now. Then there's a big drop off. Fabi only at 3%.
I'm surprised that Hans is 3rd, considering he's a point ahead of Fedoseev and tied with Wesley at the moment. And the big game is ongoing between Hans and Wesley.
Ben Underwood, our statistician, actually told me that part of these stats has to do with Hans's performance against the field so far. And Hans has a really bad result. He's young, he's growing like weeds, in strength and power. But it's because he has a bad result against the field, and that factors into the statistics and saying, well, he'll probably tail off, taper off, certainly at the end, toward the end of the event as it keeps going. Someone like Fedoseev, who has dominated this very same field pretty much, maybe a couple of players different after last year, Fedoseev is getting the nod statistically. But I don't know. Hans is doing pretty well at the moment. Maybe he deserves a little bit more respect.
I agree with you, Maurice, especially now. I'm really liking his position, his current position, if we can catch up.
We're going to go back to the game between Sindarov and...
No, Hans. We're watching Hans.
Oh, good. Because, I wanted to catch up with them. So when we had left it, with the double pawn on d5. That is to say, Hans had played knight to d5, and it was captured. And I was trying to win a pawn, and Wesley said, no, I'm not interested in winning the pawn. In fact, what I want to do is get a nice center pawn wedge as black, and he played the move d5. Hans said, I want to keep the 2 bishops. Knight goes back to a6. And now this is that tough moment of judgment. Black has won the center, an extra pawn in the center, versus the 2 bishops. Who do we like? And we're about to find out as the players
well,
continue.
If the position opens up, then we'll like the bishops.
Yeah, but that knight on e4.
It's a beautiful knight.
Anybody who's ever played the Russian defense will respect.
But that knight has come off in the current position. I like the straights that Hans has made.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, look at our beautiful dark square bishop now. You're just looking at the pawn hanging on e5.
I am.
But
how are you going to
trade one pair of rooks and then put the queen on d4, not giving up that e5 pawn.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. And also,
He's going for it.
yeah. You know, it's funny. I was trying to play the move rook f8, but the computer was playing it for me because that was the move that was played.
Yes.
So I was like, how did I do that? I was so clever. And queen to d4, which would simultaneously defend the pawn on e5 as well as menace the move queen b6.
It's all about the dark squares in this position, and it's white who's dominating them.
And if I may, because it just gives me such trauma, I tell my students, don't make bad trades. Please, don't make simplistic bad trades. It'll cost your position, especially the trade bishop takes knight, especially that trade. Be very careful. They're not equal pieces. Oh, it's 3 and 3. No, they're totally different characters. The bishop is a diagonal moving piece controlling a bunch of squares of its color, and the knight is a much more devilish type piece. The way it moves, but it may be slower, but it shifts color. So you have to be very careful. And Wesley, if he were one of my students, which I could not even begin to call Wesley my student, as he schooled me all day, I would be saying, why did you play bishop takes on e5? Why did you do it right here, right now? And his simple point would be, well, that pawn looks pretty good. I'm going to track it down, and my structure will start to move with the move c5. Looks pretty good. And Hans plays the same trade. Bishop takes, the best move, easily the best move, and says, oh, no, not so fast, buddy, because now after you take back, I'm going to trade and now place my queen on d4. You're never seeing this pawn, and your trade has given my queen a square that it couldn't dream of having. There was no way I was even thinking about the d4 square, but you just basically forced me to find this fantastic square for my queen, and now it is your knight that's on the side, and those trades have led to a superior dark square bishop. Check your trades, people. Those pieces are not the same. Bishop and knights, the whole 3 points equal 3 points nonsense does not apply when we're talking about chess positions. That's just a general guide. And Wesley has found himself in a difficult position as a result.
Absolutely agree with you, Maurice. I think we should jump back to Sindarov's game because Fedoseev made another mistake, and now Sindarov is cruising in his game.
And for those of you joining us late, we've been talking about a very unusual but powerful pawn structure for white, as all 8 pawns are on the board for white, as he has given up his rook for 2.
And yesterday, this last move that Fedoseev played, knight d6.
Okay, so
you want to go back and catch up?
it was the d4, rook e8, king.
We're looking at d5 here, but that wasn't played.
Bishop to d7, f3. I think that's a good move. Just what are you going to do? c5.
Trying to break out of jail.
Yeah, well, that bishop on a7 is really in a prison. I like it.
b7 pawn is a target.
Oh, that's a surprise move. Oh, I would be all about wanting to play the move d5.
What's the rush?
He played rook b8.
And I want to ask you, after this knight d6, could Sindarov simply play e5 and take the pawn on b7? Because if you give me a check on f5, I've got a beautiful knight e4 move.
Yes. I love the move e5.
Yeah, so this is your kind of position.
Oh,
the guy
man,
just takes a pawn and smiles.
I'm
How
just
can you be against it?
Dreaming. By the way, the only reason that I hesitate and pause, because I'm looking at this rook on h1, and whenever I can play a move like f4 takes g5 and open up my rook.
Also useful, yes.
Right? Because there's a rook f5 follow-up, a rook h5 follow-up. Sorry.
Sindarov has just too many good moves in this position.
And you were saying we're about to pounce, right? Rook
Yeah,
takes
I don't
b7.
see how. Maybe Black has to start thinking about sacrificing the piece and trying to improve the position. Like c takes d4. Let's take a look at that.
C takes d4.
Would you take the knight?
Yes.
Then rook e3, and maybe finally I can use my 2 bishops for something.
What is that?
Although the engine disagrees.
I'm not.
It does look sharp, though. I mean, this is something he has to be calculating.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And why is this game so important for our standings? Well, Let's
For
take a look.
Fedoseev, he is chasing the leaders. He's only a point behind Hans
Right.
and Wesley. So if he wins, he has a good chance to catch up with them. However,
yeah.
if he loses and falls behind, Hans and Wesley are sitting pretty on top.
And I have to say, much like Cristian pointed out, Sindarov, having lost 3 games in a row, you might think, well, he's kind of nervous
form,
and he doesn't want to push. No, he was the one making sacrifices in this game. Now, what was the idea after E5 knight to B5? I'm assuming it's C4?
Maybe immediately, maybe start with D5?
D5.
Maybe actually immediately C4 is stronger, because what do you do after Rook B7? You're losing a piece.
Everything, yeah.
No, I think
this looks terrible.
I think there's a hesitation right now, and I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess he's not going to play E5, even though it is crushing.
It is crushing.
According to the engine, it's the best move. But
very obvious.
when you have such an advantage,
Yep.
you are clearly dominating the position. By the way, he's under 10 minutes now. You don't want to give your opponent anything. The engine calculates everything down, and it says right here, E5, if you play E5, if I may analyze this, E5, and now after takes on D4,
Yep.
you take back on D6. I guess we have your board.
Sure.
Yeah, we're using
I'll
your
just
board.
follow.
Okay. So takes, and then rook E3 check.
Oops, sorry. Yep. Rook.
Yeah, this is what
E3
we're
check.
looking at. It looks nice for black, but engine hates it.
And king C2.
Yep.
And rook takes check.
King B2.
And already, well, king B2 now blocks the
The threat. of
blocks
Rook
the
B7.
threat
So
and allows him to play the move B5, which is definitely better. But the move the engine prefers instead of king B2 is the move king back to D1.
Okay.
And if you play king D1, you're forcibly threatening that B pawn, and now bishop A4 check, and king to E1.
A little dance with the king. Yeah.
Yes, this whole dance that just took place, you have to calculate and calculate and calculate. But now, when it's all said and done, you just ran out of stuff to do, and it is white who is winning here. What's interesting about this position is if you try to defend the pawn with bishop to C6.
That's what I want to show. Then we have D7.
Then D7, and you can just cry because nothing is stopping that pawn. Just pure desperation now. The game is just simply over. So he has to calculate all of this. But if you go to the top of the position where he is right now, he could also just keep under control and say, let me just play D5. And you're terribly placed.
That looks smashing.
It's just a simple way to, and what did he do?
D5.
And he played D5. So I know my humans. I
know my humans.
engines, but I know my humans. Yes, the other move was technically better by a little bit, but it offered such counterplay that it was very difficult to imagine that he would play this line, even though the engine is saying, yeah, this is a great move, but we humans, we're not engines. And he avoided the complications of that position, which, of course, he's still winning.
Of course. I was going to say that I found the problem I think Sindarov had is he had 2 really wonderful ideas, E5 and D5, and he even had a third.
C4 or
no,
F takes G, right?
I love this as an opportunity, because that king looks vulnerable.
And if I go king, oh yeah, you want to double on H file?
I wanted to double on the H file.
Practically, this looks great, but we can see if Albar says this is now equal.
This is not the way to go, but I'm just saying it's an easy path to look
sure.
at and go, oh, wait a minute, I got something going on here as well.
But after D5, thing is he wants to play E5 next move, and now black doesn't even have that counterplay with C takes D4.
I would just offer that I really like to play C4 and then E5.
Oh,
then I've got
completely
domination.
crushing black.
I think black has to play the move C4 check here just to
he's
bring
done
this
it. Maurice?
bishop over.
And this one is just exciting. Let's try to maintain our eye on both boards.
By the way, knight takes C4 was played quickly, inviting bishop B5.
Yes, and it looks, well, actually, I'm going to stay with this one for a second, but on the other board, the leader board, is extremely sharp as well. But let's just see what he has planned as he has sacked back the exchange with a rook takes.
So he's got 4 pawns? No, 3 pawns for the piece.
Right. I was saying a sack of an exchange, but it's of course it's a sack of a whole piece.
Right.
And his pawns are just so majestic.
Well,
and he's pushing them. E5 was just played.
Yeah, you want to play knight b6, e5, and c4.
I mean, he's threatening f5 even.
Ooh.
Did he play e5?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
He still has an edge, but that's not what the engine likes.
What did the engine
It looks
like?
like the most natural winning move.
For sure. The other move I found attractive was knight b6. So I could play c4, and
Oh
c5.
yeah, and have like 5 connected passers.
How does a knight deal with them all? He played e5, which is also very compelling. I don't want to take anything away, but the engine says that because I can see the bar moving down on my left side.
Well, now what you have done with that last move is you've sort of allowed the bishop to wake up and get like Montezuma's revenge. The bishop on a7 can suddenly go to well, first start with rook d8, attacking the pawn.
Rook to d8 attacks the pawn. Presumably I have to move it.
And now bishop to f2.
Gotcha. And by the way, they would fall like pins, dominoes.
Now you've got to
feeling
play
like,
some
wait a
moves.
minute.
And he's played bishop f2.
Immediately,
He played bishop f2 immediately, though.
without the inclusion of rook d8, which might...
Not as good.
Which is not as good, though. That pawn chain is not as nice. Now you can play knight to e3 safely. I'm curious what the difference is between rook d8, e5, and then bishop to f2.
That's a sneaky way to protect g3, right? Because of the knight f5 fork.
Right?
Oh, but this is sneaky. Look at this. This is the point. By playing rook d8 first,
Okay.
by playing rook d8 first, I'm not sure why my analysis board is not up, but rook d8 first, then d6. Now bishop f2, knight to e3 can be met by knight takes on d6. And this is the point, and suddenly you have no advantage. Pawn takes, rook takes on d6. You cannot play king e4 because of rook to e6. You lose. You must now drop your king back, and that allows a trade, and this endgame is not what the doctor ordered. White will have blown it in this position. So rook to d8 was the accurate move. Instead, he played this move, bishop to f2 first, and that allows knight to e3, which has not been played as yet. Knight e3, there's no sacrifice on d6. The pawns remain alive. Although you do have to sort of be counterintuitive because you are, after knight e3, allowing the c pawn to drop. We'll take either on f4 first or take immediately here. And this position after d6 is supposed to still be much better for white, but you did give up some stuff. This is not as obvious anymore. The position has become very difficult right here, right now. Let's jump to Cristian in Warsaw to hear his thoughts.
I just want to draw your attention to this game, which is blowing up right now. Hans Niemann versus Wesley. So a battle of the co-leaders going into this round. And this one is quite interesting right now because it's a critical moment in the game. Hans, the last couple of moves after the move c5, you can understand at this point for black, the problem piece is the knight on a6. It really has nowhere to go. Bishop takes c5, rook takes b2. Bishop to d4, of course, a very natural move. Maybe the engine is saying that rook to f8 to draw the king further away from the center with king h7 perhaps would have been the better option. But bishop to d4 is a perfectly playable and, to be honest, the most natural move in the position. Queen to g6, you have to defend against the mate. And the question is, how do you do so? And it seems like the best move is not rook to f2, which seems like the most natural move in the position, but g4. This is a crazy, wild move, and at this point, black has to do something because the queen is kind of getting out of play. So what black has to do is to go e3 and sacrifice the pawn to open up that central square for the queen. e3, bishop takes e3, queen to e4, and now we get all sorts of wild stuff. But white does have a way to get back to the defense with that queen. queen to f7, king to h7, queen to f5, and just exchange the queens and lead the game into an endgame in which black is really struggling, specifically because this knight on a6. The knight is completely out of place. So g4 is a huge move right now. We'll see if Hans manages to find it, but if he does, then he's going to have quite a significant advantage, not only from an objective point of view, but also from a practical point of view, because it's not easy to sacrifice that pawn as black and allow white to lead the game into this endgame, where you see that that knight on a6 is going to have a really difficult time getting back into play. So definitely a good moment right now for Hans. With a victory, he could potentially take the lead, and quite a commanding lead into this event. Let's not forget, in Rapid, each point counts as 2 points. So this one is going to be quite crucial going into the Blitz portion starting tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Cristian. Maurice, you have something to add?
A win, by the way, doesn't potentially take the lead. It's clearly the lead. And Fedoseev losing against Javokhir would make it even more so of a lead as he extends away from everyone. But I'd like to point out yet again this trade, the bishop takes knight trade. We saw a sequence in the game between Gukesh and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and it's a cute point that will get made if we take a look at the position here. This move, right here in this position, the move bishop to h6. What the heck are you doing? That bishop, that's a weird diagonal to put it on. What do you plan to do with it? After rook e1, he said, I plan to give it up. My beautiful dark squared bishop. You play any kind of King's Indian, Grunfels, all those players that fianchetto their bishop. They said, I don't want to trade. Are you crazy? He just gladly traded, and then he played queen b6, hunting a pawn on b2. He said, you're really going to take that? Gukesh said, go right ahead. I double dare you. And why didn't he take queen takes b2? Because after knight to c4, now queen takes c3, you get a second pawn, rook to c1. Where is your queen going to hide? You have to play queen b4, now rook to b1. A nice back and forth maneuver. The queen is trapped. If it goes to c3, suddenly rook to b3, and it has nowhere to go. That meant that white's pawn structure is actually better, and white has maintained the bishops after knight to d2. Black had to avoid all that and play the miserable knight to d8. Why did you trade on e3? Why play queen b6, only to have to back up? And now cruising is white after this sequence. Maybe could have played more accurately, as now we see another trade, but white is currently a bit ahead in this position, though I have to say that MVL has weathered the storm because of some inaccuracies by Gukesh. But that bishop takes knight trade, you've got to look 2-3 times before you make it. And you were seeing star players make a trade that is not good for their position.
Thank you, Maurice. Let's go back to actually our leaders, Hans and Wesley, because Hans didn't play that g4 move that Cristian was showing us.
Sorry, I went to the
Sindarov found
games.
the 93 move.
He did, he did. And
look at that. Hans played rook f2, and now I think Wesley has a perfect opportunity to equalize. Maybe give a check on b1 first.
okay,
Because you have to go rook f1.
because king h2 is
I
met
think
by...
you don't want to allow queen d6 check and...
Okay, so you wanted to say that we could make a draw, and Wesley...
Exactly. Or you can even take on f1 and then play queen f7 and trade all the major pieces.
That would be it. But aren't
And you
I
have an
leaving
extra
the-
pawn. I know, you are losing a5, but then you can play knight c5 and win a4.
Wow.
So I
Good
think
point.
Wesley is out of trouble completely now.
Quote,
G4 was such a hard move to play. You see E3
Looks
and
very
queen
risky.
E4 and all that, and you say, wait a second, what am I allowing?
exactly.
Opening up my king like that, you have to have pure confidence that
And
this is good for you.
He's
And
given the check.
He has given the check, by the way, yes. Rook b1, and again, this is the big fight for first place, as both Wesley and Hans Niemann, co-leaders at the moment.
Sindarov did find knight to E3,
yes.
going for it, giving up a pawn for that pawn mass. So he is looking like he's going to bring Fedoseev down to earth
Help me.
and win a game again, finally.
And help me again, why is king h2 bad?
Well, queen d6 check.
g3,
Well, your king is now long-term weak.
and I'm threatening mate in 1.
Yes, I do have to defend that first.
You got to play knight c7 or
That's
something?
what I'm thinking, yeah. Knight c7.
Here we go. He's reaching for his king, is Hans. And he's
Yeah,
done
he's
it.
done
King
king
h2.
h2.
Queen d6
Quickly.
quickly. G3 quickly.
Yeah, knight c7 also played already. He
And
wants to play knight e6 soon.
soon, immediately. You know? I mean, knight e6, that's a massive transfer from the knight from a bad square to a central square. It may be a hip hop to capturing the bishop, or massive square on f3. So
One can
knight,
dream, right? Knight from a6 to f3.
Exactly. I have a dream. Put that knight on
this,
f3.
This is not just
Did he just play
casually.
This is a
h4?
3-result game.
But we should point, the pawn on a5,
Is toast.
It was hanging, but Hans didn't take it. He played the h4 move. I think he was worried about knight going to g5.
h4 in this position, remarkable. So, well, before we get to g4, oh, he
blunder.
said a trap. Oh, I forgot about queen f7 check.
That's why I was saying knight e6 soon, not right
Soon,
away.
not immediately. Okay, soon. So h4, now it's your turn, Wesley. So, okay, what can...
Some improving moves, maybe some prophylaxis move.
but back up.
Yeah. No, this is the current position.
No, but yes, exactly. But you're saying he set a trap
Oh, yeah.
because
Knight
show the audience why
queen
king,
f7 check.
why king to h7 is a blunder.
Check. King. I'm assuming. Do I have something like this? No, that's not the
queen to
winning
6.
move.
What's the winning move?
We have to have a winning move here. Or
Do we include bishop e5
maybe.
for some unknown reasons? No.
Well, no, then if I'm going to do that, with my queen on f7, hold on.
Yeah, I
let
was
me
thinking
pause
rook
this.
f6 here.
Yeah, let me pause. Yeah, so
Oh
we're
yeah, rook f6 just
threatening,
attacks the knight. Yeah,
A rook
With
b2
threatening-
check,
and rook check, you just go up.
h3 hide.
That's the crusher.
So h4 also creates this little hiding spot for white's king on h3.
Yeah,
this is what Hans is
and
calculating.
he's, I mean, the knight's just gone actually in that position.
So we cannot touch the knight. Maybe we have to start with king h7? Is
Right
h4
now,
a
queen
good move,
c6
by
is
the
a
way?
good move for black.
Queen c6 right now.
Yeah.
With
With the idea of queen c4.
with what idea?
Well, make a move for white.
Well, this
No,
is
I'm just
hard.
curious. I'll
I'm
pass.
just
and
improving my
Queen
pieces.
c4.
Something.
Were you gonna queen d? What? That's not clear.
queen c6.
That's a hard move to play.
That is a weird one, all right.
By the way, big update in Gukesh's game. He's made a couple of bad moves, and now MVL much better.
Oh, really? Because that whole idea of Maxime's bishop takes e3 we didn't like. We thought Gukesh was the one who was in pole position. But now the knight has
Just
got a
mutual
great
mistakes.
square on
MVL
e4.
also missed the best opportunity. Just mutual mistakes.
What was that? After bishop f4,
It was a few moves ago. They are just
Oh,
playing really
sorry.
fast because Gukesh was very low on time, and they played very quickly.
it looks like they're about
We
to
missed
get
their
into
mutual blunders.
a major piece ending as the rook on f8 is not moving.
Well, let's jump back then to the game between Sindarov and Fedoseev as the pawns are rolling now, and the
March
knight.
of the ants.
Sorry.
March of the ants.
Yes, that's one way of putting it for sure. Black's knight doesn't know what to do exactly, and the pawn structure so favors white. The pawn on b7 is weak. The king is tethered to the pawn on h6. The white king plans to march up the board and assist the knight, or actually leap into the b6 square and grab the b7 pawn. So there's just tremendous flexibility for white right now, and king d4 is just a natural move. Go for it, king d4. He does have to think about knight e2 check, I would say, as a move, but he can ignore that whole side. Is you think you're touching my pawn? I've got a d7 and e6 siding coming at you if you're not careful, and this is just deadly after the king c5 move. So this position here is winning for white, just winning. The march of the king straight down the board. And Sindarov, at the moment, did he?
No, he played rook c1.
Oh, that's a big mistake.
And he made a mistake instead.
Rook
and has allowed the knight
c1.
to go back to b5 and defend the position. And now he has lost his advantage. He must have thought that this was going to be enough. But after rook to d8, his pawns, he separated them from the rest of his pieces. And the knight has a way back home now. Oh, and he played it too quickly. He played knight to d6. We're seeing mistake after mistake. Knight to d6 is a bad move here. You should have taken on f4 first.
Now king d4, just completely winning, or even rook d1. Sindarov close to winning.
Incredible. King d4. The point is, if you try to take on f4 after king d4, he'll ignore it and just play king d5 and say, talk to my king. Your knight is going to have to move, and then rook c8 will land on the board.
He's done it. He's played king d4. That's the winning move,
This
as you've
complexity
described it.
of this structure, you can see why these strong players will make mistakes, and that indeed was an error. Sindarov about to take down one of the chasers, the key chaser in this round. Fedoseev in big trouble.
In our two key games,
f6.
so much is happening. Wesley just missed a winning move, and now
No.
has equalized again.
No, really?
It was completely crushing for Wesley, so
I don't know where I'm supposed to go.
I know
Go.
too much is happening all at once.
Well, let's at least see that. We know Sindarov is going to win this game. There's going to
Well,
be
he's got to
resignation
play.
soon.
He's
But
got to
let's-
play king d5.
He did.
Oh,
Yeah,
he
He's on the
has.
board.
Oh,
king d5
sorry.
is on the board, and that's crushing.
King d5.
I mean, we might see resignation there. Where do you put the knight?
King e7.
King e7,
I can't move the knight and allow rook c8.
and then here you take on g5, go rook h1, and that's the resignation, right?
He has played, by the way, king e7.
Yeah, we take on g5,
Take
or
on
immediately rook h1, also looks good.
or immediately rook h1. Same idea, taking on g5, but you're hoping to play rook to h7 in this case, yeah?
Yeah.
So, all right, I like this.
I mean, this
Take
you
on
can't break the structure of these two
No.
pawns. And if a rook shows up,
That's it.
the game is over.
Yeah.
Take
40
on-
seconds for Sindarov, but I'm sure
He's going to find it.
of course.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, the reality is there's nothing to do to improve his position other
He's
than
taken
this
on
capture.
g5.
And black is in desperate straits.
Time's not a factor, right?
No.
1 minute,
No,
4
no, no, this
minutes.
is too easy.
Not for him.
Yeah.
No, this is just too easy. You get a rook to the H file, and it's going to be Johnny Ballgame.
Johnny Ballgame. Just refreshing the board. So this is the live position. We've just seen Sindarov play f4, takes g5, and he's looking to activate his rook on the h file with rook h1 and rook h7,
Yep.
and then the two pawns.
Yeah, this is completely hopeless for Fedoseev. And Sindarov will be bouncing back after 3 losses.
That's the best way to bounce back. 3 losses, it'll take the wind out of it, confidence out of your sails. And we're going to jump to the game of Hans Niemann and Wesley as those two players are battling for first. And I heard you say, Maurice, that Wesley missed a win?
It was Nazi who said it, but Wesley did miss a gigantic move. This position is now sort of sharp, but, well, I'm not going to say it's petering out. It is currently at triple zeros. Both sides have clear pass pawns in a major piece ending, which could easily see the trade of queens in a second, which would definitely make it just a draw because both sides have powerful pass pawns that cannot be disturbed. So this one is probably going to end in a draw. If we back up a few moves, I can show you what I think Nazi was talking about was this moment right here on my board where white decided to play the move queen takes on a5. And you see the eval bar drop because the engine spotted the move e3, a pawn you simply cannot capture because d4, and suddenly there's a mate hitting the h1 square either way, and this bishop is simply hanging. So the pawn would stay on the board, disrupting white's position. The rook could go anywhere it likes. But it turns out that after rook to g2, matters are not so simple. In fact, Wesley would have to find And it's the only move that wins 8. And you tell me what you see that's so obvious about this last move that's tracking the win. It's the knight does plan to come in the game. The bishop still cannot capture because now the knight goes to f6, and that's prophylaxis against bishop takes e3. The knight now headed to g4. This is hard chess to find in a rapid game. I'm sorry. But right now in the live board, they are very close to just drawing the game. If we now look at this live position, and Wesley with more than enough counterplay to deal with the a-pawn. He's got the e3 pawn. So I think this one will keep going. Let's jump back to that Fedoseev game. Did he resign yet?
Not yet, but his position is still hopeless. He found some ideas to keep the king side closed so white rook doesn't get to black's king.
Right.
But he's down so many pawns now.
Boy, it just looks like,
There's too many passed pawns for white.
Sure looks that way, doesn't it?
It's raining pawns.
It's like, no. Oh, my goodness. Really?
G7?
G7? Doesn't this... I mean...
Which pawn do we push?
We have 2, 3, 4, 5 connected pass pawns? I don't think I've ever seen that. No, I've seen 3 connected pass pawns, but 5?
Well, the dragon, I've seen the dragon.
4
Dragon sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the exchange sack on c3 and capturing on f, that kind of thing.
And he's done it. He's played g7, and he's saying, look, I'm going to play f4, and just everything is winning. Rook g8, g5. Why did he... I was sure he's
Honestly,
gonna
black is in Zugzwang. You
F4.
only have the h pawn to move, and it doesn't go too far.
And the whole problem is the desirable rook takes g7 could be met by queen. Pawn equals queen,
Or rook
followed by king
c8
takes
also,
d6.
Rook c8 feels
Or
nice.
even rook
C8
c8.
feels
Oh, that
great.
feels much better.
The rook cannot leave the back rank. His pieces are frozen. He's in complete Zugzwang. Nothing dare move, except that h-pawn. And now he has queen and said, disruptor time, as a rook's going to land on c7 with
Check.
devastation.
If we take with the rook, it's mate in 3?
Mate in 2, rook c7, king e8, and g8 rook.
The under
That's a
promotion.
beautiful finish promotion. If you take with the king, of course, king takes on a d6 and you can resign. That's a resignation. That's the end.
And we're going to put a smiley face, a smiley emoji with the under promotion of the rook to check.
And a fist pump.
We're going to see
And a fist
pump. I think the fist bump will be saved for when Sindarov beats Gukesh. But right now, he'll be calm, cool, collected, a beautiful game on his part. Mistakes abounded, but it is a rapid game after all.
So just how clean is this? King takes, rook takes.
I mean, f4.
F4. Yeesh.
Eesh.
With this dominating king, yeah, this looks terrible.
Yeah, I think Fedoseev's considering just resignation
Also,
right now.
also their g6 is possible, no?
And
Yeah.
g6, yeah, also.
Oh, no, g6 is not.
I think you can throw away one pawn and still win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that.
Wow,
Oh,
Duda
my
has
goodness.
defeated Firouzja. We didn't have much time to check this
Our
game,
apologies.
but this is a third
Look at
loss
his
in a row for
body
Firouzja.
language. He knew this from round 2, Firouzja, that he was not in form. It's amazing how players can tell.
Something is wrong.
He didn't say I was sick. He didn't say I felt under the weather. My girlfriend left me. Or, he didn't say anything. He just said, I feel like I'm out of form. And that was round 2 after having 1.5 out of 2.
Exactly, being one of the tournament leaders. Wesley started with 2 out of 2, but Ali Reza, at the start at least, he was in good. He was having a successful
Fedoseev's
result.
time's ticking down, less than 20 seconds now. Is
Well,
he gonna,
he can't.
No, he
And
resigned.
he
Handshake.
resigned. Wow,
Big bounce back for Sindarov.
huge. And we're going to go to the game between Hans and Wesley as we give our congratulations. Oh, sorry.
This has completely
just
equalized.
totally.
Pass
we're-
pawns have left the board.
Yeah.
Nothing to play for.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this one's going to be a draw. Fabiano is trying to win the game in an end game against
Radislav?
Vladisov. His knight proving to be.
Ooh, this is one of these dominating knight positions.
Good knight versus bad bishop.
Yeah, thank you. Good knight versus bad bishop.
Not completely self-evident why it is that the knight is winning if you're an amateur player. That, okay, bishop versus knight, the eternal argument yet again, but how do you just win so easily, as the engine's saying, this is over, not even close.
I guess Black's king, well, e4 pawn is hanging, right? We can take it, and then Black's king moves to take b2 pawn next.
Towards the, yeah.
King e3 and so on.
King e3.
You do have to pay attention to your pawn on h4, however.
Well, we don't
Could play
allow
knight
king
g5 and not
f3.
let you come out, yeah.
Exactly. We go king to e3, as just played, and as Nasi was mentioning, we can include knight g5 before making a scamper.
But then the pawn will go to b3. Now you'd have to bring your knight back.
We'll bring back our king to e3, put our knight on d. Our knight doesn't need to be on g5, it can be on d2.
Even better.
And do the same thing.
Or
right?
d4. d2 or d4, yeah.
To stop the, yes.
Stop the king and win the pawn on b3.
Yes.
So first things first, he's decided he's going to attack the pawn with the knight, is Fabi?
Maybe not even move the king on e3
Oh, by
yet.
the way, even knight to d3 to f4, force the king into this horrible corner. Can I check
Well,
the king?
the bishop, well, wait a second, Yas. The bishop is on d7, so he doesn't have to go into the corner.
Ah, I'll still go knight to d3 in any case. Knight to d3, knight
has
f4. Yeah, I mean, the knight just looks...
The king on f1 is not that much better than king on h2.
No, but if you do go king f1...
But then we can switch to the king side and win the h3.
And that's a juice, and he's done it. He's gone king to g1. I'm expecting king to f3, force the king to h2, dominate with king f2, yes. Oh, actually, this is going to be one of those model...
But wait a second, he wins the
knight.
b-pawn right now, doesn't he? Knight e2...
Knight d4?
And knight d4, that just
He
takes
does.
the b-pawn.
Yep.
Oh, that's simple.
If he notices that.
I'd notice.
Yeah.
Knight
He's got plenty
e2,
of time, over 2 minutes to think about it. So
Knight e2
sure he'll find
check.
it.
And as we keep an eye on this one is...
Wesley and Hans are down in
was
queen
about to
endgames. The
ask.
rooks came off, and they're going to find some perpetual very soon.
they're looking for a perpet.
Oh, he didn't play it. He
He
decided to play king
didn't play
f3.
it.
This
Okay. That is a
That's
surprise.
very odd, because the other one looked completely winning. He decided to lock the king in, which of course, very good as well.
Very, very good. This is one of those really textbook model endings of a good knight versus bad
He has
bishop,
another idea. He could put the knight on f3. Okay.
which he's about to do.
Oh, he did it, and then play king g3. In which case, the king is stalemated.
I think the game is over.
And then he
he's just
decided
played
I
knight
had
to
enough.
d4.
Okay, knight d4 finally did get played.
We're going to jump back to the game between Hans and Wesley once again.
Necessary win for Fabi. Congrats, because yesterday he had a tough day.
He did indeed. And it's a queen ending of queen and 3 versus queen and 3, which, well,
Not a very exciting endgame.
No, this is
it
a
is
draw.
a draw.
This is,
Yeah.
unless something crazy happens, they will
But-
maintain their
but-
lead.
but
Actually,
Hans-
they've improved over
what?
from round one. If this position ends in a draw, then they will be co-leaders yet again, but now with a point an additional point separation
Yes.
from Fedoseev, who was trailing them thanks to Sindarov beating him.
Yeah.
So, by the way, the other game, Gukesh versus Vachier-Lagrave, Gukesh is down a pawn, but with a nice bind in that position.
And as you just said it, I think he made a mistake, and MVL now has a chance to win.
That's a commentator's curse
Yep.
right there.
He just made a bad move, but MVL didn't find it.
Incredible. And
Okay, he's still winning.
No, he's only winning because
Yes, he's cutting off the king now.
He allows his king to get cut off.
King d6, king d5, that's
I
it.
just had a lesson about that with my student. Don't let your king get cut off in a rook ending. Yes, it's looking
great.
like, what are y'all doing?
This is great. I mean,
Why do you let your king get cut off? What is the purpose of the king on g4?
Exactly. It feels like, you go and give a lecture that evening of a king and pawn endgame. The next day, the world championship has a king and pawn endgame that exactly demonstrates the point you made in your lecture. That's
Literally, my last lesson was
don't let your king get cut off.
yeah, basic that is, right?
Right.
Don't let your king get cut off.
And
he just let his king get cut off.
dang, hate that.
Can't even explain that.
I know,
Right.
I know.
Just a big blunder.
Uh-oh, here's coming.
Oh, Black's king is very strong in this position. It's going to be the hero of the game, winning that d5 pawn soon.
That is wild.
Wow.
I am just
Rook
flummoxed.
f4 check and rook f5. King e4 is coming. Oh,
Just don't play king f5 and blunder the rook.
King f4,
King f4 does look very winning.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Gotta go king
So
h4.
far, we've had all decisive results, by the way. We expect it to be a draw between Hans and Wesley, but 4 decisive results.
One of the things I really loved as we were coming on air in day one was just looking across the players. They're gangsters. Everybody plays for a win. Everybody plays for a win. Don't tell me that MVL is going to make a draw on a Grunfeld, because he's ready to play when he's playing the Grunfeld. Ooh, rook to d4. That's a
Oh,
nasty.
that's a nice way to win the
And-
pawn, king d6.
Or rook to e4, perhaps?
Did Gukesh move? Oh, he didn't give a check. He played rook f3. He wants to go rook f7 and at least take one pawn.
Yeah,
Yeah, but king
rook,
e6 and
king
you
e-
don't take any pawn. You get one, but you have to give up your g pawn.
Right.
And that's just
Rook
academic.
f7, king e6. Well, the players are moving very quickly, but it's a two pawn to nothing advantage.
And these are not h and f pawns, which are technically
No.
a draw. This is a very winning endgame.
Yeah, no chances
You can play
whatsoever.
king f6, right? Yes.
Yes.
Because on rook e7 there was rook f5. But yeah, this is very simple technical endgame.
In fact,
So the second win in a row for MVL. He finished yesterday with a win because we know he had a disastrous first day.
yes, he did.
But he's waking up now. He's being himself.
Yeah. That's terrible when somebody's having a bad tournament and it's like, I want to play them, and by the time you get to play them,
They're
they've
winning
completely recovered. They're beating everybody, and it's like, why couldn't I play that guy, 5 days ago?
And MVL now is looking for the cleanest way. Cleanest might not be the right word. The setup that constrains white in such a way that you don't even need your second pawn.
Exactly.
You're not trying to push two. You don't need to queen both. You
Right.
need to queen one. So if you could cut the king off again in some way while maintaining shelter and the like, then he will be in big trouble. And there he just swung that over. He will be able to defend his e pawn with his rook from a7 as needed. He'll use the pawn as shelter. One of the pawns, particularly the e pawn, but also the g pawn as shelter. As the king comes up the board, White's rook will not be able to harass that king with checks. As you see here, king f5 has been played. You give check with your rook laterally. It will simply be met by the move e5. So he decided instead to do it along the file. But now he'll be...
You throw a check, drop White's king all the way down to second rank.
There he gets pushed back.
You push e5?
Yes,
Why not?
absolutely.
And here they come, slowly but surely. This position is hopeless.
I think one of the crucial parts, whenever you have a technically winning ending material ahead like this, you don't have to rush. Play slow, steady moves.
Savor it.
Safe, yeah.
Savor.
Yo, this is
You want to keep
delicious.
playing? We can do this all day.
Exactly.
But it is a key point. Do not rush.
Do not rush.
In his great book, Shereshevsky, an endgame strategy, talked about
Wonderful book. I was happy to publish it. Yeah. And we do have a draw in our co-leaders.
Right, 2 leaders draw and extend their lead. They will still be co-leading, but Fedoseev falls behind by 2 points now from the leaders.
Exactly.
But Wesley missed the winning opportunity, but as Maurice showed, it was not that simple.
I thought that Hans missed a great opportunity
Earlier,
that
he
game
was
as well.
better.
I think it's a fair result, and I think both players are sore that they didn't win the game. And now we see that
Six.
just gently
Yeah, Maxime is
nursing.
enjoying this endgame.
The king is about to step into the limelight. King
And there he
E4.
goes.
Oh, not King E4, King G4. Okay, again, kind of looking for
Squeezing White's
opportunities.
king, gaining more space with each move.
Exactly. Noticing it for the first time that, well, Gukesh is not playing on increments. That's being a little bit too strong.
But he is lower on the clock, yes.
Much lower. 2 minutes difference. Check.
And here we go where we have this position where if King E3,
Yeah.
he can actually bail on the E pawn as black if he wanted to, and just win with the G pawn. So this is what eventually will happen. One of those pawns can go, we don't care. We'll just set up a position where the king is just too dominant. But right now that the white king is all the way back, he's going to bring his king up the board, is black. And sooner or later, he's going to bail on one of those pawns and set up
And if you have to give up one of them, which one would you choose?
probably the G pawn.
Keep the G pawn?
It's all the same.
It's
to me.
all the same. It's
gonna
both
be a
winning.
10. No, I'd give up the G pawn.
And me, I'd give up the E
The
pawn.
E pawn just to,
And I put my king on G2,
yeah.
right? So I would play G4 here, and I
And we
put
have
my
a
king on
reservation.
G2.
MVL defeats the world champion with the black pieces.
Wow. Never count Maxime out. I mean,
No.
he plays so well in these Grand Chess Tour events. He doesn't have the highest rating in the world, but when
He's been
gets
consistently finishing.
first, second, or third
Exactly, in top 3 every year in the
every
Grand Chess
year,
Tour.
you tip your hat and say you're deserving. What happened to that? Did we have 2 draws?
Let's go over to Warsaw. Cristian, back to you.
Thanks, guys. What an absolutely incredible round, 4 decisive results. And of course, Hans versus Wesley, that could have been decisive as well. One game that we didn't really pay a lot of attention to was this one between Duda and Alireza. As Maurice mentioned, Alireza knew that he's in a really bad spot psychologically and in terms of his shape as well, as early as day 1, round 2, after he won against MVL, but still he felt like he doesn't find his level of play in this one, and he hasn't found it yet. Inexplicable decision at this point. He was ahead on the clock. After bishop to f4, all he had to do was basically just continue with the main plan, go short castle, hide the king. Despite the fact that these pawns are a bit advanced on the king's side, it's going to be very difficult for white to break through and create any sort of threats. What he did was bishop to h6, an inexplicable, once again, decision, because after bishop takes h6, rook takes h6, not only that you're exchanging one of your main defenders for the king, but also that rook on h6 is completely out of play, and you're not going to be able to castle. You're going to have to find a way, a trajectory for the king to go to safety, but it's not easy to do, especially because white found this very strong move, b4, opening things up. And after rook to h8, you can see he's trying to connect the rooks together, but you simply don't have a lot of time left because I'm opening up another avenue of attack. Bishop b takes e5, d takes e5, and rook to b1. And as you can see, the rook on d1 on an open file, the rook on b1 on an open file, always creating simultaneous threats in the position. Rook to c8, knight to d5. Take a look at this sacrifice, and it's not that obvious. Hey, you just sacrificed a piece. Yes, I'm not going to win instantaneously after a bishop to a8, but what I'm going to do, I'm just simply going to suffocate you with my moves. Rook to e1, f6, creating another entry square for my rook, which I'm immediately going to take advantage of. Rook to b6, rook to e6 is coming. You have to defend against that. But at this point, bishop to e4, creating the battery. Now I'm threatening to go queen to g6 and invade your position. Rook to h6, you have to defend against that, but now you're completely paralyzed. All of my pieces are playing towards the attack with one goal in mind, and you're just simply stuck. bishop to b7, bishop to f4, bishop to d7, and now I'm just simply going to finish the job. Queen takes f6, king to g8, and rook to e8. The mate is coming. There is no way to stop. Rook takes f8, for example. Let's say you go bishop to a8, rook takes f8, king takes f8, and just the simple rook to e8. All of my pieces, once again, are playing for one goal and one goal only, and that is to checkmate the black king. Alireza just isn't able to find his form up to this point. And it's getting late in the tournament. This is day 3. You don't have that much time to catch up with the leader. Just an incredible round so far. Let's take a look at the standings after this round, this very, very crucial round. As you can see, Wesley and Hans Niemann, big matchup between these two players. They both missed some opportunities along the way, but they continue side by side to lead the tournament, 10 points apiece. Following behind Fabiano, that was a crucial victory with the black piece against Wojtaszek. Now he's on the podium once again alongside Jan Krzysztof Duda and Vladimir Fedoseev. Incredible matchups coming in the next round, but we're going to go on a short break, and we do have an interview with the world champion, Gukesh Dommaraju. Take a look and don't go anywhere.
Gukesh, welcome to Grand Chess Tour. Welcome once again to Warsaw. This year you decided not to play as a full tour participant, but decided still to play in 2 Rapid and Blitz events. What is your approach? What is your mindset before these tournaments?
I mean, Rapid and Blitz, it's a nice short tournament where you also get a lot of games against the best players in the world. And I didn't want to play the entire tour this time because my energy levels were a bit down, and I just wanted more time for training and recovery. So yeah, that's the thing, but I'm still very happy that I get to play in Warsaw and in Zagreb.
Yeah, we're also very happy to have you here, of course. And of course, the candidates tournament finished just 2 weeks ago, and I was wondering how closely you were following both events, women candidates and open candidates, and what is your take on such a crazy dominant result of Javokhir Sindarov?
Yeah, I was closely following both the candidates, especially the open one, but also towards the end because Vachier-Lagrave had a great chance. I was following the women, and it's like a extremely dominant score, what Javokhir managed, and it's very impressive. But I think these kind of round robins and matches a very different experience, so I wouldn't draw too much from it. But obviously he's a great player who has shown great results in this year, but also last year winning the World Cup. So and also he's very young, so pretty much my same age. So it'll be a very exciting match, and I hope to give my best.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, everybody's looking forward to the match. But before that, you are going to play 3 games here during this GCT event. And do you feel that it's going to be a little bit different tension in these games, or do you have different approach to these games?
I think the approach is to play well, which is the same against any opponent. Obviously, there will be a bit more weight towards these 3 games because of all the context and what's coming up next. But obviously, I would be fired up. I would try my best. But I think firstly, it's Rapid and Blitz. Secondly, it's it's a different tournament. Whatever happens, the match will be a different experience. In that sense, obviously it'll be nice to talk about, but I wouldn't draw too much whatever happens.
Yeah, of course, yes, but still everybody is excited. And of course I was also thinking that, I was wondering, what was the first time you met with Javokhir? What was the first time you heard of him?
I've known him since a while. He was when I was used to play these category tournaments World Under 10 or something like that. I knew he was in the same category as Prag. I mean, they both are 1 year elder to me pretty much. So I was not playing against him much, but always knew he was somewhere there around. And I think even till last year, he was not not even sure if he was 2700. So recently he had a great climb, which is just nice for chess. And bring some new energy to the elite. So yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that, of course, these games will not be counted for the World Championship match. It has a little bit different nature. And do you think you are a favorite as a world champion in this match, or he is a favorite as someone who just dominantly won the candidates tournament? Like, what is your take?
As usual, I don't believe in favorites. I mean, whoever goes to the match and gives their best on the given day will win. So my focus is on bringing myself as much as possible, bringing my best out there. And if it's enough, it's great. Otherwise, it's something to improve on. So.
Exactly. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you, Gukesh, and all the best of luck for you in this tournament.
Yeah, thank you.
And welcome back, everyone. We had an exciting start of the day.
Yeah, we did. That was a great
Four
round 7.
decisive results.
Yeah.
Only one draw that was between the leaders.
Right.
Let's see pairings.
pairings
What's coming up for round 8?
Pairings for round 8. Let's have a look.
Let's see who the leaders are playing. There we go. So we have first Fabiano Caruana against Javokhir Sindarov. Alireza facing Wojtaszek. Fedoseev against Gukesh. And okay, one of the co-leaders, Wesley, is playing MVL, who's on a hot streak.
Absolutely.
And Hans Niemann against Duda, who also just
on a hot streak.
defeated Alireza Firouzja. Yeah.
And I'm looking at the game between Fabi and Sindarov, and I'm thinking, candidates. Okay, this is the first time they're going to meet since Cyprus. And
Fabi wants revenge.
Exactly. But which Sindarov will show up? The one that just won or the one who lost 3 in a row?
Yeah, I would say who knows. At the moment, it's a tough call. We see the consolidation at the top with the draw between Wesley and Hans. That said, okay, we don't have to fight each other. We're both playing well.
Right.
Hans remains the only undefeated player in the field after 7 rounds against this gaggle of gangsters.
Right.
And then you saw Fabi creep up a little bit. MVL starts to make a little move.
Duda
saying, I'm
Fabi.
still in the mix. And Fedoseev, although he lost, he's still right there as well.
Right.
So it's still sharp days and uncertainty ahead with 4 points still up for grabs right now today.
Yeah, these last 2 games, last 2 rounds, rounds 8 and 9 coming up. Round 8 just about ready to start. And who's our marquee matchup of the 5?
Too many good games, but I would probably watch Hans against Duda or Wesley against MVL.
Yeah.
There's going to be some interesting openings on those 2 boards.
Absolutely. We've seen that Maxime has used the Grunfeld, and for the last, I want to say 2 years, he's really been playing a Queen's Gambit decline. He's been playing D5 against
now
D4.
He's more back to
He's ready to switch it up as we see the players getting ready for this round 7.
We see a pairing between Firouzja and Vachier-Lagrave. I was wondering who would want to hunt them, being the 2 bottom players. Turns out they're hunting each other. They're not just absolutely not doing well, but some very dynamic, literally every other matchup feels like people who have some stake in the game at the moment. Every single one of them. Certainly Hans against Duda, that's a huge, huge matchup. Wesley versus MVL. That's another fantastic one as we see the standings here. And although you see 2 10s with a 2-point difference, well, every game is 2 points.
Right.
So if either one of these leaders lose their games, then you see, look at that. Duda would have defeated his opponent, Niemann. He'd be tied with Hans. Wesley would have lost to Maxime. Maxime would be at 9 suddenly, and Wesley at 10. So it just takes 1 loss.
Yeah.
For the standings to just blow up, and instead of having any kind of solidity and security, suddenly
It's cutthroat.
It's cutthroat.
That's
this one round could completely change up the standings.
I don't want to rain on Sindarov's parade. After all, he lost 3 in a row. I mean, come on, that's tough. He won, and it's like a relief. But he didn't win. He had a dominating position, and Fedoseev actually should have held that.
Blew a big opportunity with that move, Rook D8.
Right.
Could have pulled it back. So we're seeing that, though, Rapid is just one of those contests that you never know. Mistakes are just constantly getting made under the pressure and the complications. So it's not so easy for them to find all the moves. But
But it wasn't just rook d8. I mean, once Fedoseev got in bishop f2, I think he was right back in the game, and suddenly it went south again, as we see the players again getting ready for
Sindarov's coming in. He's playing Fabi.
8.
Ali Reza, you can see from his body language, he's having a terrible
What the
tournament.
heck is going on? But remember, Blitz, 18 Blitz games to be played tomorrow and Saturday. So fortunes can change in a hurry.
yes, but the best blitz players in the field, top dogs like Firouzja, for example, who's playing himself out of this competition so far. Guys like Maxime Vachier-Lagrave,
Great
Mercurial
blitz
quick.
player.
Duda, who's just an amazing blitz player. He just wants to be in range as they have put out their handshakes. And Fabi, who people discount in blitz sometimes, he can put them up and put them down, pick him up and put them down as well. So we'll see.
Ooh, we have Sicilian.
And an invitation to open B3. No open Sicilian for you. No Rossalimo either for you. A7, A6.
No deep theoretical lines.
But now the point is, if I play D4 as white, and we get an open Sicilian,
No, you
and I
don't
get
want
to
to
move
have pawn on B3.
Yeah, it's weird. Not 100% sure I like it or not. Queen E2. Now this,
What?
nobody saw.
Does Fabi want to play bishop B2, knight C3, long castle?
Well, one of the things I think, Bobby, in hindsight regarding the candidates, was the absolutely unbelievable preparation, opening preparation by Sindarov. There's no way, I don't care who you are, prepared for this. E4, B3, and Queen E2?
No.
Completely.
Couldn't possibly guess this move
Right.
order.
So I'm suspecting that Fabi's intention is just to get a game that is way out of the established theoretical lines and saying
then
to
just play
Sindarov,
chess.
hey, I'm not going to be behind 10 minutes, and a rapid game to you. And what's his idea? Well, frankly, he's being flexible, and he's trying to take away D5 as a natural move in the position. Why is D5 so bad? Because after the move E takes D5, Queen takes D5,
Get
Knight
kicked out with a
C3,
tempo.
you're losing time, and Bishop B2, castles long, and D4 is actually very, very good.
Oh yeah, this
for
looks great for white.
Very good.
That's
so
not going to happen. D5
no
is not going to be on the
D5.
board.
So what we have instead is
B5.
B5.
Aggressive.
I like
And now
aggression. but-
G3, so Fabi's going to fianchetto both of his bishops.
Well, the one thing I don't like about this early B5 is after the move A2, A4, you're virtually forced
To react.
to play B4.
Yeah.
And that's a great outpost for a knight, if I can get there. Marie says, we keep an eye on the game between Fabi and Sindarov. Anything else happening that's caught your eye in round 8?
Absolutely. It is a game between Hans Niemann and Jan Krzysztof Duda. That game seems like Duda fell into,
Is Petrov?
didn't
trap?
fall into, walked into, intentionally, a standard Petrov trap. And we know in this position, D6 is by far the most popular move in this position. Instead, he played knight takes E4, which is well known that after Queen E2, you're supposed to just be in trouble. Obviously, if the knight drops back, then knight to C6 wins a queen. But this line said, we're going to go down this variation where I'm going to simply play for play alone. Takes. He got his pawn back. But this move creates a little bit of consternation as Black has to deal with the threat of knight takes on C7. How do you do so? Well, he played bishop B4 check, takes, and king to D8. But now rook to E1, and Hans following a very clean line for an advantage. The knight dropped back, and now he said bishop to C4, and your pawn is under attack. You don't want to play a move like rook to F8 to defend it, although it is possible to do. You see, Black's pieces are getting somewhat discoordinated in this position. But instead, he said, I'll sack a pawn with knight to B6, which Hans decided not to take it. It was possible, to capture this pawn and play this position, either with bishop to h5 or bishop to b3, allowing this capture. And now king back to c1, and you can see black's king is a little bit strange in this position. What a bizarre line. Have you seen this variation before, guys?
I have not.
I did. It was from a U.S. championship game where it was Fabi on the white side versus a Wonder Liang. A Wonder played this second best line. D6 has been played forever, ever, but knight takes e4 and queen e7 was played before. I've seen this, and I've always thought it's like a Berlin where white's taken off the e5 pawn and the c6 pawn, and normally the open position is just simply favorable for white. I don't quite understand due to strategy because he's playing to try to draw. There's no winning opportunities for black.
All right, the position we're seeing here is actually
this is actually
position.
I've been keeping an eye on.
This is the game with Fabi, but the game with Duda is this one, bishop to but when you get to the live position, you play bishop to b3, bishop to d7, and now knight back to c3. And here it looks as though by not playing the most contentious line, he has indeed given Duda a chance to equalize the game more or less. Although the king on d8 still leaves something to be desired in this moment, but should be able to play f6 and get away with it.
I don't know. It's still very nice, I think, for white. White taking no risks, and with the rooks on a8 and h8 and the king still stuck in the center, white's playing freely. Like, if you play a4, let's just put some moves on the board.
We do have bishop f7, right?
Yes.
We're not trapped.
And I'm still angling to exploit the position
Can black
of the
quickly fix the king situation with c6, king c7?
c6 and king c7. So, okay, let me bring my rook into the game.
I do see your rook can land on e7.
I'm dreaming. I've got a dream. Rook to e7.
But is it so scary?
No, it's not so scary, but it's just one of those positions, once again, who's better? Well,
White, of course.
White, you know, I mean.
No question about it.
This is not a three-result game.
Duda has played rook f8. He didn't play f6. Such
Okay, that means I
difficult
have
move
to
to
take.
make, right? Rook f6.
Then I have
with
to
rook
take
f8.
a4 seriously.
And Hans done exactly that. He played a4 himself.
a4. I was about to say I'm.
a3 looked more natural to me, but
for me as well. a4, I'm usually
he seems
adverse.
very confident. He got up from the board, is walking around, and look at his clock. He's gained a minute and a half.
He knows he stands slightly better, and normally it's a bit of a tell when your opponent's making a choice like this, where he's so obviously playing to draw the game. There's no chances whatsoever that
None
black
whatsoever.
will be better.
It's not fun to play just for a draw.
No, exactly so.
It's funny, looking at this position and also looking at Wesley's position, it's clear that the leaders are saying, you know what, I got me a nice little lead. That last game, by the way, was a bit crazy. I could have tasted my own blood in that last game, getting punched, both Wesley and Hans. And I think now they're probably thinking, if I could just slide into the next 2 rounds with a couple of solid draws and let these clowns fight it out trying to catch me, I'll be in a good situation for the blitz. So let's not play anything super complex. In the meantime, we see instead the position you have on the right here, which is Fabi's game, that position and the other positions with the chasers, they're willing to go for full-bloodied fights. Like, no, we got to catch those guys before they run away too far, so they have to keep their position sharp. And as you just see all these games you're cycling through, I believe that one is Gukesh's game. You just
Right.
went, and then MVL's game, that's, well, okay, you're confusing us, by flipping boards.
Oh, sorry. I thought they were on your analysis board.
No,
So
they're on yours right now.
Okay, apologies. Which game would you like me to be on? And I'll fix it.
You can
I'll fix Fabi, for example.
just stay on any one.
Fabi.
So that's Fabi's on the right. You can tell they're playing sharp chess while the leaders are just in consolidation mode. Make 2 draws, walk out of here happy. I had a good day. That's okay. while the other players are playing much sharper chess, trying to catch them. And you know, when you do that, anything could happen. You could win, or you could get slapped around.
We can go to Blitz tomorrow with a 5-way tie.
Yes.
Potentially, yeah. I just wanted to make an echo for just a moment, a comparison. Look at White's 2 bishops in the game of Fabi versus Sindarov. Let's take a look at the game of Ali Reza and Radislav. See any similarities?
Oh, yeah.
Double
the
fianchettos for White and the double fianchettos for White in the Fabi game. Now, Fabi decided that Sindarov had done something wrong, simply wrong, by not putting the pawn on d6 earlier. He's allowed to move e4, e5 with a gain of tempo.
On the other hand, you are also blocking your bishop on b2. That was a beautiful bishop.
Well, as Bobby Fischer would like to say, to get squares, you got to give them, right? You're right. White blocked his bishop on b2, but look at this beautiful bishop on g2.
Do you think he's going to follow it up with f4 soon?
Well, what I wanted to say is I don't think Sindarov wanted to play knight to d5 and to provoke either c4 immediately
but I think he has
or
to.
a future. He played knight to g4, which I found to be frankly
shocking. Is it planning to go to h6? Oh, and then f5. It's not so bad maybe. He's eyeing the d4 square for his knights.
Well, just like think about the knight on g4 and saying, who are you bothering? Like,
yeah, probably just ignore it. Don't play h3.
Knight d2. What are you doing? You're just kind of hovering in midair over on the king side.
Can he play queen c7, put some pressure on e5?
No, I've got, first of all, a4. A move I actually liked earlier as Fabi is looking to plant his knight on the c4 square. I like this for White. It's
Black played b4.
b4, okay.
Yes, c4 square is now free for the knight to take it.
Exactly, so d3 and...
Oh, that's beautiful. d6 square is weak.
Exactly.
Great
and by the way,
outpost.
I don't think you're putting pressure on e5 in the sense that I have both my bishop and my knight and my queen covering e5. I saw that the bar did not like my move d3. It
Maybe he
thinks
has
that
something
maybe
better.
even
D4.
D4, of course. Because, by the way, that's a tempo.
Oh, there's this pin also. If c takes d, you take knight d4.
Yep,
And the bishop on b7, knight on g4, everything's hanging.
exactly. And if we see a move, for example, like
Yes.
knight takes e5, I could play knight takes e6, but I'm actually
Let's
very,
take the
very
g7
happy
pawn.
to take the g7 pawn.
Black says goodbye to castle.
Yep. No, this is very, very nice for Fabi. Remember, in the opening, what we're trying to achieve is our fair share of the center, effective
king.
development, safe king.
Black hasn't achieved safe king yet either.
No.
Yeah, we like this position for Fabi. So the conclusion is play Sicilian with b3, queen e2.
I think that's our conclusion.
But d4, it says he is, again, Fabiano Caruana in maximum form, drops
Plays
the
this-
pawn on d4 and says
A minute ago,
easily.
easily.
Easily. He would have seen it. He would not think so much to calculate all the lines.
Yep.
He would just assume this is very strong. My opponent can't possibly survive with my
Agreed.
clear lead in development. Your king's still stuck in the middle of the board. The tactic's going to favor me. But he has been showing just some hesitation, a little too much hesitation so far in the tournament, and that has cost him. And there it is. I believe he's played it.
He played d3.
D3.
He played d3. That's,
I mean, from the video.
as you were saying, Maurice,
I
he's
thought he
lacking
pushed
confidence
twice.
right now.
Yeah, it was my first instinct to play D3, and then I saw that the engine said, you've got a better opportunity. I said, of course I do. You should play D4.
And by the way, let's back up for a second.
Yep.
Before he played this move, what other move, D3 is the most natural move, if you're not going to just blast the position open.
Right.
What other move could he have considered? Maybe
D4.
Maybe H3?
Maybe h3.
H3, G4.
Maybe H3, G4. And then he decided. I was wondering, what else was he thinking about? Was he actually thinking about D4?
Yeah.
Or was he thinking about maybe playing H3 and playing a bit sharper?
Right.
So, because otherwise D3 just lands on the board in half a second.
Right.
As long as he took to play that move, which the engine actually hates.
Despised. Yeah.
Yeah, it took him 2 minutes and 12 seconds to play this move, which he could have played in half a second. And he just decided, let me just be cool, calm, and maintain the position. But he has now lost much of his advantage, as Black has not played most accurately either. The idea of pawn breaks seems to be eluding the players in some ways, as f6 was a great idea on the previous move. Starting first with queen c7, it was possibly queen c7 and then f6. And this move...
So hold off from castling.
Just for a moment, yeah. You don't need to castle because the center is not going to blow open in any big way. But f6 is a serious point in the position. And that, with the knight on g4, you don't exactly have to move your knight away to execute f6, because you can always take on e5. And the queen defends the bishop on b7, critically. So when all the tactics break out, your bishop's not hanging. So f6 was a playable alternative. Instead, he's played very solidly. He decided, let me save my knight.
Ooh, and drop back to h6.
Correct.
He dropped back to h6.
Is he going for knight f5, or is he still planning f6? Well, he included queen c7.
And f6 is the move that's screaming to be played by Black. And once he releases this bind of the pawn on e5, then his d-pawn will be free to move.
You know, it was an amazing decision, a moment in round 7 by Maxime to play bishop on g7 to h6.
And take
captures
on e3.
the knight. That was shocking to me. In this position,
Do you want to play
with the
bishop
knight,
c1?
no, with the knight stuck on h6, it actually passed through my mind.
Oh,
This
bishop
idea, bishop h3, so that you end up taking this knight. No, I
Problem
mean,
is f6, right? And you're living... Yeah, of course, I know what you're
sometimes
saying.
you think outside of the box to your
Normally,
detriment.
bishop h3 wouldn't come to mind, but Maxime put that in your head.
Yeah, exactly. And now I can't get it out of my mind. No, I mean, I'm playing rook e1, anticipating that the pawn will come to f6 one day, and my rook will be on a half-open file. If you want to play a4, a5, I could support that decision as well. You know.
I agree.
Okay, where would you like to take us?
Well, I'd love the position with
Maurice?
Niemann and Duda.
I'm on it.
That one is the position I have on my board here. Just before he played this, like this moment, you say, well, it's looking not much. And then the move h4 lands on the board. And this has frozen his opponent. And I think Hans is now thinking, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm not looking to just make a draw. I'm thinking about winning this sucker.
Absolutely.
And what are you going to do about the march of my pawn down the board? As you see, even in endgames, this pawn push can be very strong as he's trying to freeze Black's structure before Black can free his structure. This setup is very good for White, and you have to be careful. Now you can't play something like f6 because h5 will happen. And if you play h6, you can just see the weakness of the pawn on g7 as rook h4 shows up on the board. There could be a rook e3, rook g3 sighting, and it is just simply White for choice in this one. If Hans wins this game, he'll be in clear first. If Wesley doesn't win, what looks like a pretty even position happening between him and Maxime. So Hans plays this move h4, and his opponent has been deep in thought. And I would like to point out the clock times. Hans has played so quickly. He has 23 minutes and 35 seconds. His opponent already under 15 minutes, struggling to find a clean plan. Hans for choice here.
Yeah, I think the move h4 is highly disruptive. And we saw Hans actually taking down, who did it, Ali Reza?
Yes.
Where he played h5, h4, and then put
And
the
that
rooks
major
on.
piece endgame, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And rook h1 was checkmate. So this idea of, you know, just cramping your opponent on the king side.
He's doing just that, king c7 and
Played
h5.
h5.
He didn't even include rook e7. I thought his idea was
Provoke f6.
yes.
Maybe there is rook e8 here, though.
rook e8, rook
Yeah, and
takes
that
f7.
equalizes because then I take the f2 pawn.
Good point. Now, it's not rook e2 because that
We don't want to
square
allow
is,
black rook on our second rank.
Yeah, that square is protected, but it's rook to f8 takes f2. So h5 came very quickly. And
You don't want that pawn to be on h6, I'll tell you right now, because the knight on c3 sees the g5 square, and that would be a problem. You do
so
not
for
want to see
example,
this
rook
happen.
here, h6, g6. This is where things go south in a hurry.
Well, wait, you can include rook takes on e8. Sorry, rook takes on e8 would be before.
But the point, what you're making
But
is,
making this point clear.
yeah,
this
you're
knight.
trying to get your knight to g5 with the pawn on h6. That's just a beautiful strategical victory in sight for white.
I've done that so many times in Bullet. I love it when they let your pawn get there and then you put a knight on g5 and they're just sitting there
Like a hero.
jeez.
Yeah, Duda played h6. He couldn't allow white to push that pawn farther, and Hans very quickly played rook e3. He's enjoying extra 10 minutes on the clock.
Because now the problem is the g6 pawn, g7 pawn.
Precisely. He's
Rook
got
g3 follows, and how do you defend?
No, he's got the
I
much
can't.
freer game, and yeah, I didn't like the opening choice, and Duda is now suffering. How should he? So imagine Duda plays rook e8. I've got to develop, right?
After rook
Imagine
g3,
You go rook g3, and
is it
I go g5.
Only move, probably.
Right. And I'm hoping that after en
Who's
passant,
taking?
f3,
Maybe knight d1.
knight d1. Oh my goodness, that's a nice
Temporarily
move.
passive move, but
Okay, but
That's
black,
fantastic. Are you kidding?
black's
but
pawns
look
are
at their
hanging.
accuracy. We see on the screen they both have 98%. So Duda hasn't really made any blunders or any real bad moves. So why is white so much better?
Don't give me any solace. When you talk about the guys squeezing me and I haven't made any really bad moves, that's one of those Bobby Fischer things. Oh, you lost the game. What was your mistake? I have no idea. He just beat me anyway. Sure, it's just technically just enough, close enough, and that's all it takes. And if Hans wins this one, man, he, like I said, he will take the lead or be in pole position because MVL and Wesley, their position looks like nothing much going on.
Dead.
Just about dead,
Yeah.
drawn as you can imagine. They're going to be looking for a repetition quite soon in this one.
Sure.
As there's just nothing to play for. And here it is. We're seeing the repetition. Back and forth they go. And
Wesley
a
draws.
friendly, well, first asking the arbiter to confirm. But that is that. And Wesley now in the lead temporarily. But Hans.
Has a chance to become a sole leader.
And I know every one of you had Hans on your Migo card. I
No,
know
I did
you
not.
You thought
I did
Hans was
not.
definitely one of the favorites to win. No, come on.
Fabi was on my bingo card, and when Fabi and Hans matched up, I thought Fabi was cruising to victory.
Yeah.
Until he had a big, oops, slip.
Yeah, 96.
And
knocked
that
him
was
out.
the big swing. That's a 4-point swing
And
in that
that's
game.
been all the wind Hans
And that's
needed
why
for his
Hans is
sails.
in first, and
He got the confidence after that game, and then
Yeah.
he beat Ali Reza in a completely drawn endgame.
Yes. And now a draw against Wesley and a chance to beat Duda with the white pieces.
Wow.
And he, by the way, I don't know which way he looked, over his shoulder or in front of him, whichever direction Wesley and Maxime were playing. But Hans now knows, if I win this game, I'm in first.
That's sweet.
And nobody looking around, only Wesley is close. Nobody can catch me. Otherwise, this is a huge moment for him.
Absolutely. What a chance in the sun. I've got Fabi and Sindarov's game on my screen, and I'll tell you that Fabi decided to capture on f5, but I was thinking about it like, I really despise Black's position. I don't like it one bit. I think the structure is terrible. I think the pawn on d4 is very vulnerable, and I'm just imagining the position after the move g5. What are you going to do
No,
with
it's
black?
absolutely terrible for black, but on the
Rook
other hand,
f3, rook h3, queen h5.
but the only weakness is h7. So if I do, let's say, g6, rook f7, would white be able to
Yeah,
break through?
h4, h5.
I'm with
Play
you.
play
Okay, okay.
g6. That's a little bit of a hook. He
Well,
didn't do it. He
Fadi
captured.
chose to gain some material because he can win an exchange here if he wants to. But maybe his bishop's so good on e4, he might not take it yet. He's played queen g4.
And I think Fabi's reaction was like, look, the rook's not going to be able to move. So I don't have to take it immediately. And this idea of rook f2, or actually, now that I think about it, rook to d2 and rook to g2.
Because rook on d1 is not doing anything at all.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
But there is maybe some tactics. No, knight e5 is not a threat.
Got knight on, this knight on c4 is
Oh, beautiful.
omnipresent. Yeah.
If I
Nice.
may,
Please jump in.
the Hans game, Hans is now down the line we spoke of, but he played f3 instead of
Knight
Knight
d1.
d1.
knight to d1, which knight d1 was counterintuitive, fantastic retreating move, but definitely somewhat inhuman to decide to undevelop your knight when you have the option of playing the move f3. And it's
Which
just-
looks great.
which just looks great. It turns out that now bishop f5 can be played by Duda, and after bishop to f5,
Give me
rook
the pawn.
takes, and now check, king up, and rook to f1. And this rook is a little bit of an annoyance, and don't forget that there is a black rook that can go to the d8 square as well. And that says you took your pawn, congratulations, but I'm starting to generate some counterplay against your position, and Hans will have to be
Actually-
satisfied with this position, which he currently has decided, yes, he has now won the pawn. And this line, it turns out that there's only one real way to keep an advantage for white.
After rook e1 check, king d2, rook f1.
Yes, the position I currently have on the board there, we see on the analysis board, the right move is to take the pawn on g6, sacrifice in exchange for a second pawn. Now, this is not completely winning, but second ago, you were just up a pawn.
Yeah.
Now you've decided,
I
well,
gotta give up an
I'm going to give an
exchange.
exchange for a second pawn. The count is good, but with your king looking the way it does, are you thrilled or comfortable thinking, I must just be winning here? The answer is no, you're not just winning. It's
you're
two
better.
rooks about to chase your knight down.
Your king.
Your king down, excuse me. The rook's
Yeah.
about to chase your king down, both of them, and there's a knight lurking as well. I'm not sure Hans is going to be uber comfortable. I'm seeing my board here on the big screen. Let's go back to the live board to
Okay.
see exactly
He
what
has taken the pawn, and Duda is thinking
Duda
about
still
rook e1.
is still
check.
thinking.
Well, you actually have no choice. Rook
You
e1
have to go
check
for
is
the counterplay,
actually more or less
No, but
forced.
it's Hans's move right now.
No,
No,
we
it's
just
Duda's
had rook
move
takes
after rook
h6.
h6.
Oh, that.
We haven't seen rook e1 check.
Oh, we haven't seen rook e1. My apologies.
No,
right. So
no,
bishop
it's
f5, rook
okay.
h6. Yeah. So rook e1 check is what he's thinking about and where to put the rook. I'm curious. Hans is looking around like no big deal. He has 23 minutes and 49 seconds on
versus
his clock.
7 minutes. And look, whoa.
He dropped the rook back to e7.
He gave a check, but then he said, not rook f1, rook e7?
Should Hans still take on g6, or now he's just better without sacking the exchange?
Well,
No, he can't
because rook d8.
He can't. He
yeah.
gets mated.
Oh, wow.
He gets
Is it-
mated. That was the point of this rook retreat.
You know, the move knight d1 is getting better and better and better.
Second,
You
yes.
know, with every passing move.
Yeah, that rook on g3 is buried itself after the move f3.
Yeah, the rook is suddenly a prisoner.
But
king's side.
right now, you can play the
Knight e-
literal only move, unless you want to repeat, is to bring your rook back to h1, and he has done so and shut down the counterplay with one move.
Shut down the checkmating threat, rook d8 and rook e1
But
mate.
Black can no longer get his rooks on first.
But
or
I'm
second.
arguing even the whole counterplay.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, White's rook on g3 leaves
Yeah,
a
that's-
very poor impression.
For sure.
You better find a way to get that sucker back in the game somehow. It's not easy if you go to G5, and you actually go Rook G5 and G4.
Sorry, I'm just getting the current position. And this is the current.
So Rook G5 and G4 is what you would like to do. So let's say you play Rook G5 right now.
Okay, this is the current position. Hans to move, and
Yeah,
we're
plays
looking
Rook G5, and now Knight to E5, and now you don't get to play G4 because, of course, you lose to Knight takes on F3, and that is nasty. Oops.
That is true.
So backing up a couple of moves, how do you
Untangle.
get your rook in the game?
Yeah, the rook is.
Maybe Knight E4. Is that an option?
Yeah.
I just want to get rid of that bishop on F5.
I understand, but even if I'm not winning my pawn back immediately,
Yeah,
this
knight on E5 is so pretty. Now I have bad bishop, it feels like, against a good knight.
You're a pawn up. Congratulations, but the blockade is really
very nicely blocked.
really secure.
Hans has chosen bishop C4. He was not happy with the bishop not participating from B3.
No, but this is very deep, actually, because
What's
he
his
has
idea?
bishop E2 eventually.
And?
No, the rook is still hanging on G5. No, I was thinking, I want to play rook G5, G4. I've got to get out of this stupid position.
Right.
And so you want to prepare.
So if I
the
prepare the
defense.
F3 pawn, the problem is there's a knight F7 if my bishop is on E2, and it's still similar.
So just to put the position on the board for a moment, I play the move B6, you play rook G5, and I wait for you to play G4.
Right.
So I can play knight
Knight
F7.
F7 and say, oh,
and
you
trap
thought,
the rook.
you thought you did something. You didn't really do anything in that position. So I'm not really clear on the way to
We do have
untangle
knight
this rook from the square. And he has put the bishop on E2. This was the deeper point. He's going to have to wait. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe he has F4.
That's what I was going to say. I think he's planning F4.
So we can maybe play rook to.
And either way, it was an
E4?
improvement to get the bishop on E2, right? Because it can
Yeah,
help
the bishop
now on
on
the king
B3
side.
was not
It looked
doing
pretty,
anything.
but wasn't doing anything, yes.
You know, sometimes you.
He's played rook D1 here.
Let's play rook D1.
And he's setting up for that situation where he will eventually play F4, and now you're really just insisting you'll never do it.
Right. At the moment, my only compensation for being a pawn down as black is this horrible rook on G3. Put the rook on E3, and
I mean, I would say
think it's
also black's minor pieces at the moment are better than white's minor pieces.
yes.
But they're about to be pushed back. If they
Yeah,
ever
white
get pushed
gets up
back,
for
if
G4,
white could,
yeah.
as Yasser pointed out, move that rook somehow, hop over that pawn on F3, put it on E3,
Yeah.
then G4 and F4, or maybe first, whichever one you choose, suddenly those minors are not so secure. So the problem is just that rook on G3 being boxed in, having no flexibility whatsoever.
By the way, the clock times are becoming more cute.
I didn't notice, yes, stood us down to 6 minutes.
Oh, and he's allowed the exchange, the trade of rooks, I should say. He's played the
That
move
should
rook on
benefit Hans
E7.
because black had active rooks. That was the counterplay. Trade should be beneficial for white.
Exactly.
But how do
We
you get
pause.
out still? Even if you trade rooks,
Well, we'll pause for a moment. We'll play the move B3. Trading rooks might actually be helpful for white.
Finally, knight D1.
Yes. Pardon me, the knight on C3, just
I
like
think
the
he's taken right away on D4, and maybe now he's going to play, yes, B3.
Okay, so, apologies. We
Traded first.
traded first. Naturally.
He is planning to move that knight from C3.
where's he planning to move it to?
D1?
to
So why did he
D1?
trade?
To
That I don't know.
E3. I don't know either. I wanted to play B3 right away.
Again, the issue of trading is such a subtle one, but it's often the case that players trade a little prematurely. But we're going to jump to Warsaw as this game is heating up. Cristian in Warsaw, what are your thoughts?
Well, also my thoughts about this game in particular, because I have to say Hans is just being extremely impressive, not only with the quality of his moves, but also the speed. The speed really impresses me, and he made a conscious decision after day one, after that game against MVL, to really speed things up and put a lot of practical pressure on his opponent on the clock. Now, you might argue that the moves beforehand were impressive, but to me, bishop to c4 was such an important move, because if you don't find this, then the bishop on b3 sort of gets stuck. But it's easy to see bishop to c4 and just assess it after knight b6 as a repetition, because this bishop cannot go to d3. That's going to allow me to equalize the pawns. Cannot go to e2, because then I just simply take on a4, and the knight on c3 cannot defend the bishop on e2. So what you have to do and what you have to understand before you play this move bishop to c4 is that right now, after the move bishop to a2, and let's say, don't we repeat the position after knight to d7? But there's a huge change in the position, and that is the bishop is not on b3. The bishop will not get attacked with the move knight to c5 for black. So just a minute detail that Hans understood and took advantage of in the span of a few seconds. He only thought for a little bit, played the move bishop to c4, understood the key difference in the position, and right now he's just putting unbearable pressure on his opponent. It's going to be very, very difficult for Jan Krzysztof Duda to survive this one. A pawn down, but also on the clock, he's really struggling. Now, another game that's quite important as well, and unfortunately my board has frozen up for the moment, so I'm going to send it back to you guys, and maybe I'll come back in just a couple of minutes. For the moment, send it back to you in St. Louis.
Thank you, Cristian. I think Maurice has some updates for us.
Big time, as Duda was trying to crawl back into the game. He made a huge mistake right here on this board. On my board, I've got it. This mistake is telling, as instead of putting his king on e7, bringing the king closer to the king side where that rook is trying to escape, he put it on e6. And that means his bishop cannot move. Knight e3, and suddenly that bishop that had been preventing the rook from going to h3 is going to get lopped off the board. And this has put Duda's position in crisis. He's had to play rook h4 to anticipate that possibility. And that now with the rook gone, here comes the king. And slowly but surely, Hans is making improvements, and his king is headed to e3 next. If you play king f6, now I take your bishop off, thank you. Now I bring my king up, hello. And now we're starting to see problems, huge problems for Duda. f4 could come at some point, but rook h3 is also on tap, trading into a pawn-up endgame with the great bishop on the board. And, by the way, with moves like bishop d3 coming as well, once he chases your knight away, this is starting to look perfect for Hans with this huge time advantage. 22 minutes and 22 seconds. Those are a lot of twos. with Jan Krzysztof now down to only 3:14.
Yeah.
Terrible position. This is ugly, and Cristian's board is now up to date. Cristian, what you got?
Absolutely, yes, it is unfrozen right now. I wanted to talk about this game between Fabiano and Sindarov, because right now we're seeing the true Sindarov, the Sindarov that we've seen during the candidates, the confident Sindarov, the one that makes the moves without questioning himself too much. And this is what we're seeing right now in full action. f4, f5, very good, important moves. And it comes with this idea of sacrificing the exchange. Rook takes f5, bishop to e4, and now, without hesitation, he just played rook to f8. You don't want to move away this rook from f5, because then you're going to fall under a tremendous attack on the king side with this bishop in the center on e4. What you want to do is just simply sacrifice the exchange, which he did, and he was playing very fast, putting once again a lot of pressure, practical pressure on his opponent's clock, on Fabiano's clock. And it's easy to understand Fabiano's perspective as well. You don't really want to take that rook, because now the bishop on b7 is an absolute monster, and it's very unclear how you're going to try to destabilize and open the position, how you're going to force me to move this rook away and then maybe try to go f5 yourself and open up the position. Is very, very difficult to make anything happen because of the lack of the light square bishop on e4. So this is what we have right now. Bishop to d5, rook to e2, rook to h5. And to be honest, Fabi probably hopes for a repetition, rook to h5, rook to h4, and a draw in this one. And Sindarov was like, no repetition for you. I'm going to go queen to d8, bishop to e1, queen to f8, bishop to f2. You can see the bar dropping, but look at the clock as well. Again, it's a story of a player that just plays with a lot of confidence, and he trusts his moves. And Sindarov is better right now, potentially could be stringing a couple of victories back to back. Back to you guys in St. Louis.
Thank you, Cristian. Wow, if Sindarov takes down Fabi with black pieces, it will shake up the whole event. But look at Duda's clock. I think we have to go back there as his clock is down to 1 minute 20 seconds now. Hans with extra 20 minutes.
Yeah, we used to
In
call
a rapid game.
Yeah, and Hans has got the perfect ending. We used to call this the Bobby Fischer ending. Once we play knight takes f5, it'll be rook and bishop versus rook and knight. And Bobby beat Mark Taimanov in a beautiful ending of rook
We have
and
a couple
bishop.
more. I think Duda played rook before in this position.
And I'm taking that bishop and I'm going rook h3.
It's time to take it and get the rook out of there.
I'm just so happy to
done it.
liberate the rook on g3 has been the problem piece. And once we can go rook h3 and
Get
activate,
it active, yes. Oh,
it's
dreams have come true.
indeed. And we do have king takes. If we take with the pawn, then rook to g8 or rook to g7. And suddenly, this is just technically winning.
Healthy extra pawn.
Healthy extra pawn, good minor piece.
Extra
the bishop,
20 minutes on the
yeah.
clock.
The strange part is, you think, oh, bad bishop versus good knight.
No,
And
no.
at first blush, I could understand why you would think it's a bad bishop. The moment I play g3, f4, and bishop d3, that will be a monster
Let's
bishop.
catch up with the players. Duda's played b5. I think his only hope is to create a passer on the queen side and create some counterplay, but Hans is prepared to stop that pawn quickly with
Sorry, I'm gonna
rook a8.
do a live position. Okay. And you're absolutely right. He's going to be playing maybe g3 first, some inclusion.
What are you stopping? King f4?
Yeah, slightly, ever so slightly worried that the king could crowd.
He's given this check on f8 to stop king f4.
I like it. I like it a lot, actually. That's a wonderful little touch.
And now
His technique has been superb. He mentioned that he had been studying endgames, and maybe it was the Fischer endgames he's been looking at. And you look at this position, and that pass pawn that you created for counterplay, great for you. It's been curtailed, but guess what? You gave white a pass pawn as well. That c pawn is passed. So here comes the king helping out. This is looking move by move, just better and better for white.
I think the live position is frozen, so let's focus on Yasser's board to follow the players.
Okay.
Yes, it does look that live position is not moving ahead.
So king d2, you were about to say, Maurice, that Hans is looking at what's better than being one pawn up. Let's push that rook away from the defense and play rook takes a4.
And then we'll
King
finally
c3.
start pushing our passer on c-file.
Exactly.
This is a disaster, and it's actually fairly straightforward. That's the best part. Duda's going to have to look for a way to mix things up, muck up the position, but where, how? It's so simplified.
Rook h4, rook h2 is the only thing I see for him.
Yes,
Rook
that I would agree.
h4
Somehow maybe
and
make
rook
that G pawn
h2.
destabilized, but would white not just give up the D pawn for black's A pawn and start running the C pawn up the board? Maybe that actually helps in some way, because at least the C pawn is closer to the center. So black's pieces can more or less control that. And if you can, the next thing you want to do, get rid of the G pawn, then get rid of the F pawn by trading, and then sack your knight for the C pawn and say, beat me with a rook versus bishop. I mean, rook and bishop versus rook ending. And I'm going to also defend that with only 25 seconds left on my clock.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hope. And he has started with hope springs eternal, rook h4 on the board. And I think that that's what he's after, liquidating all the pawns and sacrificing his knight for the final pawn, and maybe he can survive that position.
Maybe Hans doesn't have to give up the pawn at all.
Sorry to interrupt you, Maurice. If I play g4.
I think g3 is better because on g4 maybe rook h3.
Yeah.
And you don't have king e3.
Gotcha.
Move you want to play.
I was just very curious about this ending. Takes.
Oh, black's king is very
cut off,
active
right?
here, but
Whoa,
you want to cut off with d4, but
and c3. Oh, good. Our live board is back. Sorry to interrupt myself, but is this ending not winning?
But can you make progress? Let's say king e5, and I'm just standing. Because your king is also cut off on d2.
No.
At some point, when you go far enough, I'll have rook f4.
The Incr is actually giving this ending after G4 as
Triple
equal.
zeros. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, that would lead to the position.
Wow.
And I'm not.
I would be sorely tempted as white.
To go for this line, but guess what?
Yeah.
What if you see the option though, which is G3?
Yep. Let me just refresh. Sorry.
And if you see the option of G3 instead, and he plays rook to H3, and now you play F4.
Nice.
And now your knight can't move. Hello, there's a bishop G4 check.
Oops.
Oh, nice.
So we have to take.
No, this is just winning.
And your knight still can't move.
Ah, knight F3 check. Now that's a much better ending. That's
Two
two
extra
pawns.
pawns, yeah.
Let me just see 2 pawns. It was like MVL just won 2
Against
pawns
Gukesh,
against Gukesh. Okay.
And guess what? Hans has 20 minutes to find G3.
He has finally stopped moving quickly, and he's focused on the position. And this is a critical moment.
But
Good
G3
time to
just
stop,
wins.
not rush the clock. You've got the fish on the hook. There's no reason to try to reel it in quicker when you have all this time. You know the inevitability of strong moves. And he has instead played a check to start, which the black king has left the light square diagonal. So that idea of
F4 and bishop
F4
G4.
and bishop G4 suddenly disappeared.
Okay. But on the other hand, we've kind of pushed the king that much further out of play, right?
Which means, though, that he's not going after the G3 idea anymore.
No. No.
Maybe he can play king E3. Maybe he wants to just defend the pawn on G2.
That was the move I wanted myself. Oh, rook A5.
Okay, that provokes king E6 back, or king. Now that we know on E6 it's not well placed, maybe D6?
Here goes something crazy. The move knight C6, which is losing, but you can't take the G pawn.
Oh no, because of A3?
Oh wow, I don't even have bishop C4.
Wow.
Do that all the way down to 12 seconds, making a move king F6.
Yeah, with nuances like that, you miss with no time on the clock. You just don't even notice it. But knight C6 would have been a nice trap, trying to get the white rook to tempt the white rook to taking on G5. But he played instead just simply king F6, which is a better square for his king than in the previous position.
And once again, is G3 and F4 not winning? It looks.
It should be. It looks so good.
In this case, it is winning.
Yeah, it does, right?
Or immediately G4.
No, G4 actually is even better now that the king is cut off even further on the F6 square.
For some reason,
Oh, because then you can cut it off with rook E4.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, sorry, for some reason.
I have it on my screen. I have it on my screen. I'll take it. In this position, he can play G4.
Yep.
And after rook H3,
Yep.
he can take on A4, knight takes, bishop takes, and rook E4.
So a moment ago, I was putting my rook on D4 and my pawn on C3, and that was not winning. But the rook on E4 and the pawn on C3 is winning.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying? I mean, that's really like one extra file over.
You need that file.
You know,
remarkable.
I mean, but it's 2 files apart now. The king
Hans
is
has
so
a
far
lot
away.
of time, and I think he'll think for a while. Can we quickly jump to Fedoseev's game? Because I think he's going down again 2 games in a row.
Ooh.
He's playing Gukesh, and the current position, absolute chaos on the board. There's bishop C3, queen E6, so many tactics, so many hanging pieces.
True that.
Can Gukesh come back by defeating one of the players who's having a good tournament?
Our defending champion, Vladimir Fedoseev.
You want to look at bishop C3?
Stunned us amazing a year ago, where he scored one of the
22
highest scores
points.
we've ever seen in a rook and a rapid and blitz. Sorry.
This is a very cool moment in the game
Yes.
because bishop takes on C3, hanging a knight is apparently the best move.
And the rook on B3 as well.
Oh, and the rook. Very nice, with tactics everywhere. This is a tough one to actually want to play because you have to find also the key square for your king.
But the rook is not hanging
The
because
rook is
we've
not
got
hanging because of
bishop
bishop
check.
d4, and you
And the knight is not hanging because of
First rank?
because the back rank starts to talk.
you just play rook b1. That's
Should
it.
you include the check? Probably not.
Oh
What?
my goodness. Oh, maybe you do.
You do want to include it.
The check.
Yeah.
But then after king h1, now just simple chess.
And on bishop f4, queen f1.
That is sweet. That is very sweet. I would have played queen d1.
Okay.
So flashy. You could just
Yeah, I
click
know.
on c1.
Oh, stop
mate
it.
with the queen.
Good. Nice.
But bishop
Wow.
c3, I'm sorry, that's not an easy move to play with 3 minutes. to
No. And it's 7 minutes versus 3 minutes. And we do think, by the way, that Hans is winning the game against Duda, and he will be in clear first should he secure victory
If
here.
Fedoseev loses again, he's falling really far behind the leaders.
But
Do you think he's going to play bishop c3?
yes.
It's Gukesh. Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
will.
He's at 243 right now. He's been
Yeah.
thinking for quite some time. He
He's
just sat up in his chair.
You know he's eyeballing it.
I know he sees it, but
Yeah.
you see, he just sat up in his chair, just pulled his sleeves up again.
Right.
He's not clear. He's not clear on this move.
Because he sees the geometry of the back rank checkmate possibility.
Yes, but he also sees that it's a queen takes check, 2 pieces hanging, 1 mistake, and you could have messed it up.
Yeah, it could be a wobble.
And he's down to 2-15.
Okay,
On the
here's
other
what
hand,
he's...
queen e6, knight f6 are both threats. He doesn't have good moves. So that's
I
why
know.
he might go for bishop c3, because he can't find anything better.
That's why he might go for it.
Yep.
But do you think he's going to go for it?
So he's
I
got
do
this
believe he will.
position in his mind, right? And now he's
Now
got to
if you take on
convince
c6,
himself
oh, he still have rook b1, because on there's no queen e4.
there's no queen e4 check.
Yeah.
So queen takes, rook b1, and there's no
Ends the
good
game.
defense to the back rank.
This game has ended. Fabi and Sindarov have drawn.
All right, let's get back to that Gukesh one, because I'm really curious about, is he going to play it or won't he?
Down to minute and a half.
Minute and a half. The longer you think, the more doubts you're having. It's just not so easy to play the move.
Well, you were mentioning queen e6 and knight f6. King f7 is the only
Yeah,
reasonable
but when you play king
alternative.
f7, I'll just take on f6
I
and
don't like king
He could play
f7.
queen f5 also and just defend everything. And when your time is down now to almost under a minute, look at him again sitting up
Yeah,
in his
he's getting
chair.
nervous.
The body language is saying a lot. I saw the move and I said, yes and no. You have to calculate a lot, and you do not want to make any errors here. And he's just not sure. And he doesn't look like a man about to play bishop c3, but will he? And there it is again. The pause.
By the way, do you see how composed and calm is Vladimir? But he did look at the clock. He couldn't contain himself. As I was looking at the clock, as it's under 30 seconds.
Pressure increasing on Gukesh by the second.
by the way, we'll stay here to see if Gukesh plays bishop c3, but Hans messed it up.
Oh, no.
He's no longer winning, but Duda made a mistake. He's winning
Duda
again.
messed it up.
Those rook and pawn endings. Okay, we're down to 16 seconds. We'll get back
He's
to that.
done
Okay.
it.
And he did it finally after all that time.
He spent all of his time.
Impressive. He just
went
triple
down to
checked
19
everything and then allowed
seconds.
his time to take down that much. And here we go. We see the line unfolding, and he is definitely better here. It turns out there's only one move for white to stay in the game.
And that is?
Sack a rook on c3 right now.
Oh.
And then take
Well, you're desperate. You might play rook c3.
rook c3.
But it
I'm
still
shocked
looks
that
lost
doesn't
after
get
rook c3.
mated. What? Rook c3, rook f1, rook
Rook b1, bishop
E1?
e1.
Ooh, bishop e1.
Well, I think Fedoseev will take his 7 minutes here to try to
Yeah,
save
let's
the
just
game. Let's go
check.
back to Hans.
Yeah, because
Gukesh's
This is
time
the-
says 1 second. Can that be possible? That's not possible.
That's not possible.
But Hans had
this is completely winning. What,
Now he is, yes. Duda played this rook a7 instead of rook a8, which is very questionable. And that was the one tempo he needed to save the game.
You're kidding. He's rook and
That's
pawn
rook end
endings.
games, yep.
He's now
See,
played
now he
rook
lost that
c8
tempo.
with no time, but now comes king c5. That move plays itself, which he has just done, by the way, king c5. And he's looking at king b6, c7, king b7. End of the game. King d8, played with only 2 seconds.
Duda knows this